Call this meeting of the Northeast Independent School District to order. Let the record show that a quorum of board members is present, that this meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. The board will now adjourn into executive session pursuant to the following sections of the Texas Open Meetings Act. Texas Government Code Section 551.071, private consultation with the board's attorney. Section 551.072, discussing purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property. And Section 551.074, to discuss personnel or to hear complaints against personnel. And the time is 5:31 p.m. The board will now convene an open session, and the time is 6:21 p.m. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, I'd like to welcome you to this evening's meeting of the Northeast Independent School District Board of Trustees. At NEISD, our mission is to challenge and inspire every student to achieve academic excellence, develop career-ready skills, and become responsible citizens. The Balanced District Scorecard guides our decisions by maintaining a focus on students, staff, stakeholders, and responsible stewardship. We appreciate your attendance and ask that all participants conduct themselves in a respectful and professional manner. Public comments are welcome during the matters from the floor, and individuals who signed up to speak on a specific agenda item will be called when that item is considered. Thank you for supporting NEISD and helping us maintain our tradition of excellence. Item 5, Invocation and Pledge of Allegiance, Castle Hills Elementary, Mrs. Carroll.
Good evening, Mr. Byer, board members, Mr. Jarrett, executive staff, members of the NEISD family, and guests. I am Corey Carroll, the proud principal of Castle Hills Elementary, Northeast ISD's only year-round campus. It is such a special privilege tonight to introduce two Castle Hills Elementary fifth graders who mean a great deal to our school community. I think one of the greatest gifts of being an elementary principal is getting to watch the children discover who they are and become the people they were meant to be. Isabella and Grant are two wonderful examples of that. I'd like to begin with Isabella Gonzalez. Isabella has been a Castle Hills Roadrunner since kindergarten through school choice, so we've had the incredible opportunity to watch her grow from a little kindergartner into the young lady she is today. Isabella is a member of our CHE choir and serves on our safety patrol. But what makes her special isn't simply the activities that she's involved in. It's who she is. Isabella is what I would call a silent leader. She does not seek attention. She doesn't need to be the loudest person in the room. She simply does what is right, looks for ways to help others, and leads by example. As a leader in Me Lighthouse campus, we talk a lot about the 7 habits. We teach our students that leadership isn't about a title or being in charge. Leadership is about the choices that we make each and every day. Isabella truly lives that. She utilizes the 7 habits both in the classroom and around the campus. And perhaps most importantly, she understands that small acts of kindness and service can have a tremendous impact on the people around her. Tonight, Isabella has been chosen to share the invocation, and I cannot think of a more deserving young lady to represent the Castle Hills in this way. Our second student is Grant Hacholski. Grant is also a 5th grader who has been a Roadrunner since kindergarten. Like Isabella, he serves on our safety patrol, and he is another one of those students who leads quietly and consistently. Grant is the kind of student you can count on. He doesn't need to be asked to do the right thing. He sees what needs to be done, and he steps up. He takes responsibility. He looks out for others, and he demonstrates the kind of character that makes a principal incredibly proud. Grant reminds us that leadership is often found in the little things: holding a door open, helping a younger student, making a good choice when no one is watching, or simply being someone that others can depend on. They represent the very best of Castle Hills Elementary, not because they are seeking recognition, but because they understand that true leadership is about service, character, and making a difference for others. We are incredibly proud of both of them, and I am especially proud that they will represent our Castle Hills family here tonight. Isabella will now share our invocation, And following that invocation, Grant will lead us in the pledges. I would like to introduce Isabella's family members who have also joined us this evening. Her mom, Cindy Valenzuela Gonzalez, grandmother Carmen Gonzalez, sister Summer Gonzalez, aunt and uncle Julio and Anna Valenzuela, aunt Connie Maldonado, godmother Tanya Vela, aunt and uncle Sandra and Terry Campbell, and cousin Dewana Vargas. Isabella, would you please come and join us for the invocation?
As we gather here this evening, we thank God for this opportunity to come together in His name, and we ask Him to guide each board member in serving others. For 1 Peter 4:10 says, "Each of you should use whatever gift you have received to serve others, as faithful stewards of God's grace in its various forms." We pray for wisdom to make fair and smart choices for students, teachers, and the community. We pray that members stay kind to each other by standing united, patient, and respectful, even when they disagree. We also ask for a safe and successful school year for all students, teachers, and staff. May God keep the entire school district safe. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
I would now like to introduce Grant's family members who have joined us this evening, both John and Sarah Hachelski, his parents. And then Grant, would you please lead us in the pledges?
Good evening. Good evening. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now for the pledge to the Texas state flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. Thank you.
I think if everybody wants to give them a hand, they did a fantastic job. And Grant and Isabella, if y'all want to come forward for a quick picture with us. Thank you, Mrs. Carroll and Castle Hills, for being here today. Grant and Isabella, you're welcome to stay if you want to. You do not have to. So I know you have, yeah, thank you all for being here. All right, we'll move on to item 6, recognitions. A, President's comments and acknowledgement of special calendar events. In the last few weeks, we have, well, first of all, Castle Hills, as you heard, they've been in school. We also have ACE that has been up and operating in the last several weeks. We welcomed all our leadership a couple weeks ago, and last week we welcomed new teachers to the district, including 120-ish brand new teachers to our teaching profession, not just our district. So it was great to be in front of them and see all the people eager and ready to go. We had paraprofessionals that we welcomed back, transportation, nutrition, so it's been a busy few weeks. And then all this leading up to most of everybody going to school a week from today on the 17th. So first day of school is coming up. Everybody get your new outfits, get your haircut, new shoes, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the 17th. I think that is all I had. So we'll move on to we're going to skip item B. That is going to be tabled for next month. So item C will be the 6A UIL State Tennis, Reagan High School. And I believe that is Mr. Govan or Rudy.
Yes, sir. Mr. Govan will address this agenda.
Thank you. All right, good evening, President Byer, members of the board, Superintendent Jarrett, members of our executive staff, and honored guests. It's my privilege tonight to recognize several outstanding Northeast ISD student athletes who competed at the UIL state level last school year. These students represented their schools and our district with distinction, competing among the very best student athletes in the state of Texas. While we are certainly proud of what they accomplished on the court and on the track, what makes their accomplishments even more meaningful is that they also excelled in the classroom. Their success is a reflection of the hard work, determination, discipline, and commitment they have demonstrated throughout the year. They understand that being a student athlete means striving for excellence both academically and athletically. And while we're here tonight to celebrate what they accomplished last year, I know these young people are already setting their sights on even bigger goals for the upcoming season. So without further ado, let's begin our recognition. Our first one we're going to start with is our state tennis. So from Reagan High School, we are going to recognize our 6A boys doubles state placers. One of our participants, one of our student athletes, he was a senior last year and he graduated. He is now attending UMHB as a student athlete, Yarrow Kirk. But his partner here, Ryan Tortorica, and his partner Kirk earned third place in boys doubles at the UIL State Tennis Championships. And we also want to recognize Pablo Alvarez and Rodrigo Montano, who earned third place as well in the boys doubles. And so we want to congratulate to all four of these young men on an outstanding accomplishment at the state level. And we also want to recognize their coach, Michael Canales, for the time, leadership, and commitment he has invested in these student athletes and the Reagan tennis program. So please help me recognize all these athletes.
Boys, yeah, if you want to come forward, Coach, come on forward. We're gonna
Should do a walkthrough. Awesome.
Congratulations. And unlike the elementary school kids, you all have to stay. So, just kidding. Congratulations. Thank you all for being here, and good luck next year as well. So we'll move on to item D, the 6A boys track and field, Reagan High School. Coach.
Yes, sir. Thank you, President Byer. Our next student athlete that we have here, Sam Ackerman, he earned third place at the UIL 6A State Track and Field Championships in the boys 800-meter run. Sam is also a student in his class that is excelling in all A's, I heard as well. So he's not just a fantastic runner, but he's also an astounded student athlete in the classroom as well. So Sam Ackerman, his mom and dad were not able to be here, but we want to recognize their support and encouragement, and also his coach, Andres Barrios, for his leadership and commitment to Sam's development. So without further ado, let us congratulate Sam.
Well done. Congratulations. All right, we'll move on to item 7, matters from the floor. Vice President Ms. Terry Chidgey is going to call people up and keep time for us this evening. Ms. Chidgey.
Thank you. The board welcomes public comments during this portion of the meeting. Trustees generally do not respond to public comments, but may request additional information or place an item on a future agenda. Matters from the floor is a limited public forum. Speakers may address district-related topics for up to 3 minutes, but may not address personnel complaints about individual staff or board members that should be handled through the district's grievance process, personnel matters, student disciplinary matters, complaints about individual students, and pending litigation. Individuals signed up to speak on a specific agenda item will be called when that item is considered. Please remember, this is a business meeting of the board. We ask all attendees to conduct themselves respectfully. Disruptive behavior may result in removal from the meeting. Written comments can be submitted to the board by mail at board@neisd.net or by mail at 8961 Tesoro Drive, 6th floor, San Antonio, Texas 78217. Number 1.
Good evening. I'm Aileen Boone. I'm from District 5. I first want to thank you all for your time and energy that's extended to the board members that you give our students in school. I also know there are a lot of people praying for you as the new year starts. We pray especially for wisdom and discernment, and I loved Isabella's prayer. I'm here to address library books again. In June, I submitted 6 books to the library to be reviewed. 2 of the books were removed as they promoted websites that were obviously inappropriate and against the law. The other 4 were retained. HB 900 states that material that describes or portrays sexual conduct as defined by Penal Code 4325 in a way that is patently offensive should be removed. Patently offensive means so offensive on its face that it affronts current community standards of decency. One of the books I submitted was A Spark of Light by Jodi Peacock. It's at Johnson and Churchill schools, and I've given my submitted form that I submitted in June, and you'll get a copy of it. And this book contains rape scenes. I could read them to you, and I'll give you the very shortened version, but on page 216, someone holding her down while another moved between her legs, splitting her in 2. When she awakened, her underwear was gone. Page 109, He rounded the corner to find 2 men holding down a Muslim woman. No, more like a girl, a Muslim girl. She couldn't have been more than 12. One held his hand over her mouth and pinned her shoulders. The other was vigorously pumping between her thighs. I have a grave concern that the claque just read the Cliff Notes, or they think rape is patently offensive, not patently offensive. This book is rated 4 out of 5 for adults only under the ratedbooks.org. So this website might be very good for the claque because it actually gives you page numbers. It gives wording, that some of us might have concerns. The other 3 books that I put in were more horror, gore, explicit body horror. So they didn't really have anything to do with the sexual stuff. I realize I missed the 10-day appeal window, but I will be resubmitting this book, and I'm hoping you'll see to it that this book is removed and that the claque is dutifully reviewing their books and we stay within the laws that were just passed. Trust is eroding in the community, and now is the time to build it. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
Thank you.
Number 2.
I do a lot of things that make my kids roll their eyes. Hopefully what I'm doing right now will not be one of them, but probably some of the things I will say will make that one back there roll his
Sorry to
eyes.
interrupt. Can you state your name real quick?
Oh, I'm sorry. My
That's
name
okay.
is Tricia Balmer.
Thank you.
I do not know what district I live in. Okay, Steuben Ranch area. So I was here 3 years ago, actually, speaking to the board about my son. And at that time, it was a very difficult conversation about safety and magnet bus transportation. Not resolved, but story for another day. I'm here again, 3 years later, to again talk about my son, who is now entering 9th grade at Data High School. And high school is a whole new ballgame. And I've been in education for a while, but it's a lot different when it's your kids that's going on. I went to the band information session, shout out to Mr. Snyder, and I asked the possibility of John being able to do tennis and band, high school scheduling. And I know there are a lot of administrators right now who are like, oh my gosh, I know what she's going to be talking about. It's hard to put all the things that our kids want to do in their schedules. John wanted to be able to do tennis and band, but he was told he would have to choose. But the other parents there at the session told me, you don't have to choose, talk to Dr. Reiser. Dr. Paul Reiser is the counselor, high school counselor at Data. And when I tell you that this man went above and beyond to help my kiddo, he went above and beyond. My son has an interesting pathway in front of him. He would like to do architecture, and he would like to take Japanese. Summer school is the only option that we had, but they don't offer Japanese in summer school. There was nothing within the architecture pathway that they could offer. He said, well, you could possibly give up Japanese to take Spanish, or maybe we could take physics. He didn't want John to give up Spanish. Japanese is this cool thing to do. The problem with physics for an incoming 9th grader is that it won't let an incoming 9th grader take physics in summer school, even though he had all the criteria. It just literally technically wouldn't let him, but Dr. Reiser would not let it be. He followed up with every supervisor, with every district level, and then went to the summer school principal, and he was the summer school counselor, and he said, Dr. Balmer, we are going to make this happen. Long story short, John was able to take physics in summer school, the only incoming 9th grader in that class, and mom brag, he got an A. So I just wanted to be here to put a smile on your faces, to give a shout out that there are phenomenal people working in your schools. Dr. Reiser's one of them. I'm totally crying now. My son is now rolling his eyes. And I know that's the time.
That is the time.
But I wanted to give you all some sunshine before the start of school. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Number 4.
Good evening, President Byer, Trustees, Superintendent Jarrett, and Executive Staff. My name is Mary Helen Guzman, and I have the privilege of serving as the Vice President of the Northeast Education Association. On behalf of our members, I want to welcome each and every one of you to the start of a new year. The beginning of every school year is filled with optimism and opportunity. Across NEISD, our educators and support professionals are welcoming students and committing themselves to helping every child succeed. Their dedication is what makes this district special. As we begin this year together, NEIA looks forward to working collaboratively with the Board of Trustees and district leadership. While we may not always agree on every issue, we share a common goal, making NEISD an outstanding place for students to learn and for employees to work. Strong schools are built through communication, mutual respect, and a willingness to listen to one another. We are committed to being a constructive partner by bringing forward the voices of our members, sharing ideas, and working together to find solutions that benefit our entire school community. We appreciate the time and effort each and every one of you invest in serving our district, and we look forward to building positive relationships throughout the year ahead. Thank you for your service, and best wishes to everyone for a successful, safe, and rewarding school year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 5.
President Byer, members of the board, Mr. Jarrett. Good evening. My name is Nicole Dixon, Northeast AFD President. Mr. Jarrett, best wishes to you as you start your 3rd week as superintendent. Last week, our executive board met with Mr. Jarrett and had an excellent discussion regarding issues that have concerned our members. These included excessive and redundant paperwork, student retention and recruitment strategies, and expanding the teacher incentive allotment program, to mention a few. Board members, as a newly constructed board, this is your first year together. We wish you a successful year as well. With the start of the 90th Texas legislative session in January, we are hopeful that many of the problems that have plagued the district the last few years will be addressed. The November election will be pivotal, and we hope the voters send a message to both parties to support public education and stop the neglect that we have been plagued with. Last Texas legislative session, Texas AFT introduced our Educators' Bill of Rights. This session, we will work toward its 10 goals that, besides school funding, includes better work-life balance in our jobs, fair pay, funding for a secure retirement, and a healthy, safe, and secure working environment. I'll email you a copy of the complete Educators' Bill of Rights. We ask that you sign in support of the Bill of Rights, both as individuals and as the collective board. There is a QR for signing on. Thank you for hearing us, and we look forward to your support.
Thank you.
Number 6.
Good evening, board. I would want to begin by wishing every student, teacher, and campus a strong, safe, successful school year. Our young people deserve academic excellence, safety, and inspiration. I encourage teachers and parents to work as a unified team, and I thank those educators who consistently shine year after year. We are very blessed to have you here. My experience with many teachers, principals, and coaches has been positive, some very outstanding. And even they acknowledge we face significant problems. These problems are not caused by funding or laws or bad parents, which is sadly a common scapegoat. Mainly, in my opinion, our problems stem from institutional resistance, the fear that changing long-standing practices looks like weakness, and I think that's ego, which gets in the way of good reform. All leaders should make their work about the kids, parents, taxpayers, and the frontline staff. This school year, I want all of us to be able to see trustees who lead, who bring forward initiatives, who dig into issues before voting, who demand total honesty and lawfulness. I want us to see trustees who insist on academic results, high ethics in every employee, expenditure, and action, and an administration that treats staff, parents, students, and taxpayers with transparency, integrity, and humility. This school year, I'd like to see trustees who create pathways for the best ideas from campus staff and parents to be heard and rewarded, while streamlining bureaucracy and stopping waste. When problems are raised through suggestions, complaints, or grievances, listen. Evaluate who among your staff failed to listen or threw legal at it, instead of collaboration and community building. What is it going to take to inspire this really positive reform that we need? Because will it be a 28% enrollment decline from our peak just 10 years ago? Because is that what we'll have this year? Nearly 30% decline in enrollment? Will it be the fact that NEISD lost more parents to TIFA than any of the biggest districts in the state when you adjust for enrollment? We are number one. We beat Northside by 20%. These are serious data points. Are they enough to inspire the board to be different, to take the reins, be fearless, honest, open, and dedicated to solutions, not doing the status quo? If I were a trustee, I would insist on real reform to bring out the best in our students and staff, stop the exodus. I would be asking every week for agenda items, for data, and I'd be visiting campuses simply to listen to teachers and parents at the pickup line. No cameras, no social media posts, just doing my job. I will pray for a good year, and I will leave you with this question. You are in charge of the district. How will you choose to lead? And I really will be praying for y'all.
Thank you. Item 8, matters from executive session. A, personnel, including but not limited to administrative appointments pursuant to Government Code Section 551.074. Item 1, possible action regarding routine personnel, including but not limited to administrative appointments. Will be no action tonight. And we'll move on to item 9, presentations. A, intruder detection audit. Mr. Jarrett, we didn't have any, correct?
Thank you, Mr. President. School just started for Castle. We have not had any audits at this time, so no findings to report.
Thank you, Mr. Jarrett. We'll move on to item B. It's the update on Bond 2025. We did have one member signed up to speak on this item. Would you like to speak ahead of time or after the presentation? I'll give you that option. It's up to you. After? Okay, sounds good. So we'll turn it over to Mrs. Caldwell.
President Byer, trustees, Mr. Jarrett, executive staff, and guests. Tonight we are bringing you an update on Bond 2025. We were privileged to have our community approve a bond package. Back in November, they approved 3 propositions. There's a summary there. I'm not going to read everything to you, but just a reminder of what was part of those propositions. The ultimate approval being $482,990 million to handle basically infrastructure, technology, and those programs that support our athletics. So what's happened since November? There's been a lot of things that have happened since voters approved that. Mainly, we have hired architects and engineers. You approved that, as well as design build firms. We have developed that master project list, that master schedule. We have collaborated with our communications department to ensure that information's on our website. We established the Citizens Bond Advisory Committee, where you appointed a parent and community member to serve and to provide oversight. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. Ultimately, it's about getting things off the ground, and that's what that work has been since November. To continue with that, on the next slide, we also specifically worked on the design build firms to replace chillers, projects A1 and A34 in the bond. We had 3 installations happen recently, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but again, all those steps that have come to you from approving that design build firms to approving that guaranteed maximum price, these are all steps of that process that comes to the board for approval. We have developed an RFQ for our intercom PA systems, which was project A3, so that will be hitting the streets. And we also are engaged with stakeholders on a long-range facility plan and educational specifications. So that master schedule, we provided this to you. You approved it back in the spring. That master schedule is on our website for anybody to review. That line moves as we progress through projects, and you'll see there are different colors. The red is any time that a project has to come to you, the school board, for approval. So you'll see the cadence of working on projects, bringing it to you for approval, work continuing, bringing you something back for approval. You'll see that on all those projects. So it's active right now. I mentioned those 3 chiller replacement projects. Wetmore, Rome Forest, and Oak Meadow. Those chillers are installed. The air is on. Jorge was checking those air temps today. That was something that our community recognized was a need and was approved as part of Proposition 1. We also have voice over IP telephone system being installed. They were at MacArthur today installing those, and that project is expected to be done and wrapping up in January. Police cars, those have been purchased. They are being equipped at the vendor who does all the safety features, the lights, and those police elements of the car. That is in progress. It's active. Door access card readers have been installed. Print shop equipment has been ordered. So all of these are what we consider active. In progress, there are things that have come to you for approval as example, but are getting ready to launch. The elementary walking track refurbishment, police department laptops and desktops. Those are on your agenda this evening. Content filters, student monitoring platforms, fiber switches. Buses have been ordered but not yet delivered upon. So to give you a status report, these are the various projects and where they stand since that November adoption. You'll see there are a few that are on for tonight's board agenda for pending approval, but there's a lot of things that we have already taken action on. About 4% of the total bond budget has been committed to projects that were referenced earlier. About $2 million has actually been spent. The group that's monitoring our progress is the Citizens Bond Advisory Committee. You all appointed a parent and a community member from your single member district, along with our superintendent, appointing a member from the parent and community as well to serve on CBAC. They have been meeting since February. That's when they started. They meet monthly for several hours at a time. Again, the purpose of CBAC is to make sure we're on time, on scope, and on budget. Is that project schedule being met? Is the project, the scope of the project, what we told voters we would do? And are we on budget? Are we doing it within the budget that was allotted? They are in an advisory role. They review those projects before they come to you for a vote. They provide us very valuable feedback. There's a lot of engaging conversation, a lot of really tough questions of staff, which we love to have that input to help us think deeper. Those minutes, those presentations are available on the website. And in January, our CBAC chair and co-chair will deliver an annual report to you, and that will happen every year. So our communications department has done a great job of showing those bond dollars at work through social media, through our webpage presence, through web stories as well. They have really started getting those things out there as we have very visual things like the chiller delivery. I just want to brag a little bit about that picture under announcements. So one of our CBAC members who lives in the Oak Meadow area was driving by Oak Meadow and he saw this crane. So of course he's going to pull off and see what is going on at my school. So he snapped a picture and he texted me, he goes, Deb, we just approved it last week. The board just approved it on Monday, and here it is Tuesday. It's being delivered. So as soon as you guys are approving things, we are taking action on items to keep things moving forward. So what's next? Well, we have a lot of things ahead. We are completing that long-range facility plan and educational specifications that will come to you for approval. That will be coming here shortly. Of course, we're going to continue to follow that master project schedule. We have professional agreements we have to get out the door. We need to hire staff to help Jorge implement all these projects. We're going to start our design reviews for those longer projects that have a longer scope of time where you're designing and coming to you for approval, and there's steps along the way. We also have more to do on the Bond 2025 webpage. We're going to have an interactive information graphic that helps people understand, are you on time, are you on scope, and are you on budget? Of course, CFAC will continue each month. We have that schedule planned out until December, and then we'll ask them again if they want to keep the same meeting dates and times. And we will begin to present to you monthly updates at the regular school board meeting. So Jorge Cabello, our Executive Director of Construction Management Engineering, and I are happy to take any of your questions.
Before we have questions, we do have somebody signed up to speak. Ms. Hilliard, whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me listen first. So the update is an update. I know it's not an action item. I wonder if this could be posted with an agenda, so we can kind of see it before the meeting in case there are comments. And also, same thing would go with if you're approving bond projects in the over 100K in consent with no discussion. Could that potentially, even without the dollar amounts, be published with the agenda so that we can at least see what projects being considered or voted on? Like, I don't know tonight if you're going to adopt $1 million or $45 million worth of stuff, and I think that's, in spirit of transparency, very important. Those would just be two questions. CBAC recommendations, I thought they would be advisory to the board. It sounds like they're more advisory to the staff, so I'm kind of curious how you're getting their input directly to you before the meeting, so you have that. Just making sure all that's unfiltered since they're your appointees. I was concerned that the CBAC membership, I didn't see it online. I might have clicked somewhere the wrong place, but I didn't see the members online. And I was wondering how, what conflicts of interest policies y'all have in place for them. Do their spouses, kids work for any of these vendors, any district vendor? Were they PAC donors to get the bond passed? Were their spouses? That type of thing. I think that for a full disclosure, I don't think they should be on the CBAC directing where the money goes if they had something to do, if they have something to gain, but at least should be transparent. We've had a couple of recusals from board members, which I completely understand, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I don't know if those conflicts of interest forms are kept up to date and put out. We should probably know why people are recusing. Maybe not, that's just my opinion. And then, yeah, just to make sure that there's all the conflicts of interest forms are up to date. I think that was it, except there's one little chicken scratch. Oh, under the design build program that you're following, they get to go out and hire subcontractors. How are we making sure that those people aren't having conflicts of interest with trustees or staff? You know what I mean? So what are all those safeguards and checks and balances that as a board you would want to make sure we're not being getting contracts to relatives or friends? I can't imagine you guys doing that. I'm just saying, like having a policy that you put on an agenda and passed would certainly help mitigate some of those possibilities. But thank you.
Thank you. All right, at this time, we'll open it up to questions and/or comments. Mrs. Chidgey.
Well, mine might need to be at the very end. The slide that has the colors and could we maybe get a paper version of that each month? That's hard.
So the paper version that you received in the spring is still there. The only thing that would have changed is that line moving. So you just follow your month down. We're happy to provide you another paper copy,
No,
but
I
we
haven't.
have not.
I just thought it changed as time went on.
The line moves as time, the red vertical line moves as time goes on, but we are staying committed and true to what we presented to you all.
Okay.
But we're happy to provide you another copy.
No, I have it. It's in the other room.
I would suggest, though, that as things do in this industry, as things slide and shift, that we're notified of that through these months. Because I guess I explained last month, but we're going to continue to get monthly updates on this from staff, and so if any of this starts moving, we want to make sure that we're presenting that to everybody. I know it's live on the website, so it's kind of real time. But if folks aren't necessarily paying attention until every month when we do this, we want to be able to highlight that for everybody. So,
Yes,
but
so
if we're on schedule for now, that's good to know.
Well, there are things that so we're not changing the schedule or creating new editions of the schedule when there are those slides, as Mr. Byer said, because again, what we publish, we're trying to be committed to. Because ultimately, the end date is the most important piece, right? So we might slide on a planning phase. It's not starting in July, for example, but then we will catch up through another part of the phase, and we're still delivering on the same phase. So how you would like to see those slides, I'd be happy to hear how the best way is to present that. The master schedule, we didn't want it to feel like it was changing all the time, like we weren't being transparent about the projects, or what schedule am I looking at? Is this version 1? Is this version 5? So we're trying to keep the schedule, but you're right, there will be delays along the way, and how you would like for us to report that, we will definitely do that in a way that meets your satisfaction. We will also have progress, so you'll be able to see that a project is 5% complete, and if it stays at 5% a long time, that's also an indicator. That's going to be part of our bond webpage dashboard that we're creating, but would love to hear your feedback about how to report to you, especially in these early parts, if maybe the planning kicked off 1 month later than the original, still the schedule is the schedule.
Yeah, and I think from my perspective, if there are significant shifts is what we need to be seeing. I mean, if there's my opinion, but if there's a planning phase that starts in February instead of January, but you're still going to finish at the same time, or the ultimate end date, I think is when we start talking about deadlines, is what we want to be able to convey to the public. What happens within that time frame, if we say we're going to finish in December, and that now has moved to the following March, then we need to know about that. But if the planning phase goes an extra week or finishes 2 weeks earlier, I don't know that we need to know that necessarily. I mean, CBAC is going to be kept up to date on that, and they can feed us that information. But I think if we start seeing significant shifts in any kind of deadlines, whether we are ahead of schedule or behind schedule, I think we need to know that. Same with the dollar amounts. And we will obviously see those. We had one come to us a couple weeks ago with the chillers, and Mr. Cabello went through and explained all the different pieces of that particular contract and where we stood on the budget. And so, for monthly updates, seeing this schedule is great. And I agree it shouldn't change, but if it does, then we highlight that. Ms. Shelton.
I love a good tree, and I hate to chop one down, and I recognize that is a lot of color. So in the spirit of that, I will not ask for the beautiful paper that you printed for us the very first time that I still have. I do think, though, it's important that this is updated, and I understand you don't want it to be version 1, version 2, version 3. I don't know what you mean by significant. What is significant to you may be different than what's significant to me. And what I don't want to have is a community member looking at this plan online, and we're 3 weeks behind, and we have not said that. Or worse, calling me, and I go to my beautiful plan that I got back in Q1, and I say, oh no, that's happening August 3rd, for example, and it wasn't happening August 3rd, and it hasn't been updated. So I think maybe that's the dashboard, because then that becomes a single source of truth, and we don't have to chop down another tree, so that everyone's on the same page about whether or not we're ahead of schedule, on schedule, behind schedule. And then citizens, I mean, Ms. Hilliard just had some, like, where is this? What does this mean? Citizens can easily go and access that, and they're not reliant upon, for example, me, to look at old data and give them incorrect information.
And I'll say, Ms. Shelton, we're on the same page. I
Okay.
think a deadline shifting, significant was the wrong word to use. a deadline shifting needs to be updated.
Yeah, because
Whether
we
that's-
keep saying
whether
we
that's-
will try, and
Right.
ooh, that's an icky word for me. We're going to try to stay on track.
So for the spirit, maybe to help with this, maybe we just have a standard slide that's always there that talks about all projects are on time or any change of projects. So no matter what,
Beautiful.
it's public front facing and it's not necessarily the graphic here, but within 4 weeks, anything that changes, we bring that update to you every single month.
That's
Would that help?
beautiful.
Okay.
Thank you.
So with the chiller, so we are finished with the one that we approved 2 weeks ago?
That is correct, President MacArthur. Phase 1 of bid package 3,
Okay.
which consists of 3 elementary schools, they have been installed and they're operational.
Okay.
We're substantially complete. We're still progressing with the finishing touches,
Sure.
but we're substantially complete.
Good. And then, so I know we have the next kind of round of the chiller component happening. And then we have some other items on the agenda later for some of the other projects, so it's good to see some movement. What is the timing on the slide? It mentioned the personnel for your staff.
We're very fortunate. We've been
how are we timed on that right now?
We've been very fortunate, HR working with HR, and we are advertising for key positions for the department, and we're going to start conducting interviews with qualified and individuals who have expressed an interest to become part of the district.
Great.
Some positions have gained more applicants than others.
Sure.
So there are some senior leadership positions that the pool of applicants is not very large. So those likely are going to be filled later when we have a pool of qualified applicants to interview. But there are some positions that had really good turnout of applicants that Jorge has identified who he'd like on the interview team. We're getting that on the schedule. We're moving forward with some of those positions this month. But others, we just don't have a pool yet really to garner that interview schedule.
Sure. Well, thanks. I'm glad that's moving forward with getting some help with the money that we allocated for that through the bond program. But and then I guess I'll also say I know I've received feedback. I talk to my CBAC members pretty regularly, and I know it was more work than they maybe anticipated, or at least one of them anticipated. But he's definitely enjoyed it, and I think there was some education on, we have pre-qualified people because they submitted all their SOQs and they were the ones that got selected to be, the vendors for these things and the designers, contractors. And I think there was a learning curve on making sure that they understood that we can't just go down the street and just pick whoever we want, because these folks have gone through a vetting process to get to where they are. And so I appreciate what CBAC has been doing. I don't know if anybody's here, but it's a lot of heavy lifting. I know they're giving you all pretty good feedback, making everybody think so that we aren't just doing the same things that we've always done, and kind of looking at those avenues and how to get these things built in the next 5 years. So anyway, great job to the CBAC. Thank you for leading them through that, and allowing them to have a voice to steer you all when you need answers. So any other questions from any trustees? All right. Well, if there aren't any at this point, I know as we get into this further over the coming months and years, that it will be more intense and a lot more detail, or a lot more happening all at the same time. So be ready for those agenda items to come up. But thank you all for everybody's feedback and input from the community, CBAC, trustees, and we'll look forward to more updates on this. All right, we will move on to, thank you, Deb and Jorge. We'll move on to item 10, Superintendent's Comments. Mr. Jarrett.
Thank you, Mr. Byer. So for the past few weeks, it's been a lot of firsts for me. This is my first year sitting in this seat. But I'll tell you, it's been an incredible experience, and it's been fast and furious. But I'll really talk about why it's been so positive. Getting out of the office and going to the campuses, visiting Castle Hills when it first opened, and seeing the parents walking their kiddos into the school, grounded me very quickly and reminded me of why this work is so important. And then engaging with one particular parent, Mr. Minnis and I pulled up, and he was actually getting ready to leave, and we just stopped to say hi to him, and just his excitement for knowing that we're taking care of his kiddos, and the fact that our staff knew him and his daughter by name so crystal clear, it just really warmed my heart, that knowing that we have people that's taking care of our kiddos like that. And then we transitioned to leadership, having a room full of principals, all focused on what's next for the year. And I will tell you, you guys as the board establishing a district scorecard really set the stage for how we do business. We use it for everything we do. I really focused on making sure that we talk about the balanced approach, and that one thing is not more important than the other. And so whether it's for the students, whether it's for the staff, whether it's for our parents and our community, and to be fiscally responsible, all requires us to pay close attention to the detail and make sure that we're going slow enough to listen, but fast enough to get the work done. And so it's been a great experience. And then I'll also just say, I know for certain, sometimes people will say the superintendent seat is one of the most challenging ones. And I think it is if your ego drives you, but if your humility carries you, you can get through it with a whole team of people that are focused on kids in our community, and that's what I've seen since I've been in this seat. And so with that being said, I've been able to go to our nutrition training, which was fantastic. Sharon did a great job with that. Custodians, our paraprofessionals, our teachers, we had 120 brand new baby teachers. And when I sat there and looked at them, I remembered what I looked like as a baby teacher, much younger, but that same eager spirit. And that's what I saw, other than the fact they said they were hungry. But it was just the excitement they had there. But what I also saw was veteran teachers sitting right beside them, and really letting them know it's okay. And really I'm seeing that even as my daughter started her teaching career, and she just said, I have a team that's really supporting me. And so it's just so important that we don't walk this path alone, and that we walk it together. And so that's what I've been seeing. Our transportation, had a chance to go there this morning, and just really looking at those folks and just how eager they are to see those young people get on the bus, which my goal is to ride the bus so I can see what it's like to be a bus driver on the first day of school. Wish me well. But really, school systems are challenging because it's a lot of moving pieces. And not one piece of this puzzle is more important than the other. And I think we have to just walk beside each other and be a flat organization that know that our number one customer is our kids, and our partner in this work is our parents and our families. And so I look forward to this continued engagement as we start a new school year, which actually starts next Monday. So this will be my first school year as superintendent, so I'm looking forward to that. Ms. Caldwell did a nice job talking about the bond, and I encourage everyone to engage with our website. One of the things we've talked about is maintaining the transparency of our projects, our timelines, and what we're doing. And if we're missing or have a blind spot of something, then we need to know, so that way we can make sure that we're delivering on the promise of what our taxpayers asked us to do. That is a priority for us. We did a really good job really focusing on our needs of our district and not the wants, and we're really going to spend more time taking care of the resources and the facilities that we currently have, and not really looking at new ones that we need to build. That's been something that Ms. Caldwell and her team has really been doing a good job of, is really taking a look at some of our aging facilities and saying, how can we take better care of those? And so thank you guys for all your work on this bond. I know it's a lot of work, but we're doing it the right way by opening the doors and making sure people can look in and see what's going on. And then if you paid attention, our communications team, who does a really good job of getting out and trying to highlight some of the great things that's going on in Northeast. And so they highlighted a young man, Ian Moss, and this student was a Reagan student. He ended up earning industry-based certifications in the engineering field. And so our district started a few years ago actually doing a job fair for our students. So when they get ready to go into the summer, they can actually introduce themselves to business and community and try to get jobs for the summer. Well, Ian, because he had the certification, actually got on at a summer job at HMT Engineering. So it was the first time they've ever hired a high school student to work as an intern during their summer. This young man had a chance to learn what it's like to be an engineer, and this was just one step before he heads off to start his educational journey at Texas A&M University. I know some of y'all are in here. But really, it's just a testimony to this idea that we have to create a path where these young people are leaving us in a better space and place after they leave us, because they will come back. I have been fortunate enough over the past few weeks going to different places. I keep running into former students of my own. And what I hope everyone knows is every day you can make a difference. And sometimes you don't think you did, but 20 years later, that person will tell you something you said, something you did, and how those things can matter and make a huge impact on their lives going forward. And so it's just been a really positive experience knowing Ian's story as well as many others to come. And then, as you guys saw, Castle Hill's principal was here, in that they started school. And we've had a lot of opportunity because those were the only kids we could see. So Castle saw me a lot because I just needed to be around students a little bit. But our staff has put together a short video so you can see what it looks like in an NEISD moment.
Welcome to Castle Hills. We are the only year-round campus in Northeast ISD.
As a teacher, I love everything about Castle Hills. It's totally different from where I'm from. But I love the kids. I love the interaction. I love being with second grade and third grade. I love all the extracurriculars that they have to offer.
I think it really speaks volumes that we have so many teachers who bring their children here to Castle Hills because they really love that for their own children.
So about every 3 months, we have a 2-week break. Every month we have a 3-day weekend or a 4-day weekend between that, and so in October will be our first fall break. The first 2 weeks we're out of school.
To have those chunks of breaks in between, I think is really good for their emotional state, their academic state, because they're able to kind of stop and take a breather and then come back refreshed and ready to go.
I love Castle Hills for 2 reasons. I love our calendar and I really love our community. Our teacher community, our parent community, our staff community. I love Castle Hill's schedule more than anything, in addition to the teachers, the staff, the curriculum, the community. But the schedule really works well for our family.
So what's really great is we still have those traditional holidays, all those good things like the traditional calendar does, but we have additional breaks and holidays, so we really like that. This is my 4th year with this calendar, and I can say I really believe it has a great benefit for our students and our teachers. Partly because we get those timely breaks, we get those rests, we get those 3-day weekends, those 4-day weekends, so our families can still travel and be flexible with that. But we also have those breaks, the fall break, the winter break, and the spring break. Those 2 weeks off in October are wonderful.
As a parent, I love everything about Castle Hills. The teachers are amazing, the students are amazing, PTA is amazing, the faculty is amazing. It's hard to look at the next grade level and say, oh, who's my son's teacher going to be, because everybody is great. It's just a really great community, a really great leadership program that they have built here, and my son loves it and I love it.
Yeah. So I'll just close and thank our staff and our families and our communities for allowing us to start the year off on the right foot. And really, we look forward to Monday. Bill, is Bill in here? Buses are ready to go, right? Okay, so we're ready to go for Monday, and we just look forward to seeing everyone around the district. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jarrett. It's always good to see that start off the school year right. Moving to item 11, board business. A, possible action regarding 2026 TASA TASB delegate and alternate. In your packet was a form for us to fill out of anybody going to the TASB conference, which is in October this year. They do have the delegate assembly where we get to go and actually provide our voice to the initiatives that TASB may or may not undertake. And so I know I've done it in the past, I believe Melinda. So anybody that is going, I'm looking for nominations for a delegate and an alternate. So anybody have the ability to do that?
I would like to nominate Ms. Chidgey to be the TASB delegate.
Okay. I will second that. If Ms. Chidgey would like to be the delegate.
I'm happy to.
Okay. Thank you for doing that. I think that'd be great. And then if there's anybody that would like to be the alternate with that, you can nominate yourself or somebody else.
I can nominate myself to be the alternate.
Okay.
If that works.
Perfect. Yes. So right now, what we'll do is we'll take I think we have to do an actual vote for the delegate and the alternate. So I'll move to nominate Terry Chidgey as the delegate for TASB conference and Miss Melinda Cox as the alternate.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Sorry. Miss Chidgey? Oh, yeah. You have to vote for yourself.
Aye.
Mr. Byer, aye. Mrs. Garcia?
Aye.
Mrs. Cox?
Aye.
And Mrs. Shelton?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you both for stepping up and doing that. That'll be great. And it is on Friday this year and not Saturday. So
Oh, that's better.
it's a little bit better. Item B, possible action regarding candidate endorsement for TASB Board of Directors, Region 20, Position A. We received one candidate who provided us with their resume and their desire to continue. It's Ginger Friesenhahn, who's with the East Central ISD. I believe she's been the board member for one of the board members for Position A for I think she was the last term. I don't know if she's been a couple of terms. But she has asked for our endorsement. I've spoken with her in the past. She's represented our area well. If anybody has any opposition to go ahead and providing our endorsement for her, I'm willing to discuss it at this point. If not, I'd like to make a motion to endorse Ms. Ginger Friesenhahn as the Region 20, Position A, TASB Board of Directors.
I second.
Got a motion and a second. Any questions?
What happened to the gentleman we had last time?
So he is up in Burn. That's for one of the different positions. It's like position D.
Okay.
He's in the Bernie ISD.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And some of these directors, because of the size of their districts, they get automatic
right. I thought he had so
positions.
many. Yeah. Okay.
And so, anyway, so I have a motion and a second. Mrs. Chidgey?
Aye.
Mr. Byer, aye. Mrs. Garcia?
Aye.
Mrs. Cox?
Aye.
And Mrs. Shelton?
Aye.
Thank you all. Motion passes 5-0. C, possible action regarding School Health Advisory Council bylaw revision recommendation. We have some representatives. Mrs. Ramsey?
Am I in charge of pushing the scrolling?
Yeah, you are. We'll make it fit.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Good evening, board and staff and guests. My name is Anna Ramsey. I'm vice chair of SHAC, and I'm going to be presenting our bylaw revision recommendation. So just a quick background. This is a task that comes from the board, and you can read all that if you'd like. But every year we do revise or have the possibility to revise in our SHAC meetings, and I'm going to skip. This year we did have a member bring up a recommendation, and the top article is how that email came to us, so we just put it there word for word. And then the bottom part is how the bylaw stands currently. So I don't know if y'all have had a chance to read that, if you want me to read it to you. Okay, so that's where we stand, and then I'll skip to the next one. So the suggestion was discussed, and just to give a little background, in the past, sometimes what we'll do is we'll have a SHAC meeting, a full SHAC meeting,
let's say September, and then the next meeting we have the standing committees in October, back and forth, and or spaced out a little bit more over the year. Last year we decided that it was doable to do our SHAC meeting first and then follow the next 30 to 40 minutes with a standing committee. So the concern was in the language, it might accidentally be read in a way that somebody could get marked absent if they had to miss one meeting. So we just wanted to provide clarity, that we really wanted it to be separate, even if we were having it on the same day. So that's all we did, and we passed it, and now we're bringing it to you. And now that's what it looks like. So, oh, hold on, one more slides. Yep. You're welcome. Can't tell if I should move on. Okay, so that's the conclusion. We bring that to you, and thank you. And questions?
The one thing I did want to point out, I guess the draft that we got, go back one more slide. Oh, go forward.
Oh, okay.
So there on the 4th line where it says non-attendance of 2 consecutive SHAC meetings, and then parentheses it says full. On our, what was in our packet, the S was missing from the end of SHAC meeting. It just says SHAC meeting instead of meetings.
Okay.
So I just want to make sure the final draft has that S.
Okay.
That was the only comment I had.
Okay.
Just a little grammatical.
I don't know who's in charge of that, but that can happen.
Any other questions or comments for Mrs. Ramsey? All right, do I have a motion to approve the recommended changes, including the addition of the S in meetings?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Cox.
Second.
Second. Thank you, Ms. Shelton. Mrs. Chidgey?
Aye.
Mr. Byer? Aye. Mrs. Garcia?
Aye.
Mrs. Cox?
Aye.
And Ms.
Aye.
Shelton. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you so much for being
Thank
here.
you.
Appreciate all your work too.
Oh, absolutely. Take care.
Item 12, new business for possible board action. A, instruction and campus administration. 1, possible action regarding Senate Bill 12, annual certification of compliance with certain laws. Dr. Muskies.
Good evening, President Byer, Mr. Jarrett, members of the board, executive staff, and guests. Tonight we bring forward for possible action the annual certification of compliance with certain laws. This is a new requirement starting this year. Texas Education Code Section 39.008 requires that beginning with this school year, there's a board-approved certification of compliance with certain laws within Section 39.008. This is required to be submitted to TEA no later than September 30th. And so the next few slides is going through what is included within the annual certification of compliance, as well as the policies, procedures, and compliance regulations that we have brought forward for approval. So the 2 laws that are specifically within this annual certification are Texas Education Code Section 11.005 and Section 28.0022. So we are required to review local policies and procedures to ensure alignment with both of those specific laws, as well as document how district or school employees or contractors were notified of these policies and procedures, as well as providing any changes that were made to existing policies, programs, procedures, or trainings, and if there were any cost savings that were aligned with any changes that we made. So here you have listed, these are hyperlinked, so I will not go through these specifically, but also Texas Education Code Section 11.005 and 28.0022. Those are also hyperlinked there as well as they're included within the attachment packet. So these are the specific policies, both legal and local, that apply to both of these sections that are required. And then in addition, we have outlined here specific actions for employee and contractor notification methods. So for example, the annual employee acknowledgement of the standards of conduct, staff portals, as well as compliance trainings that are published on the NEISD internal staff portals, and integration into the required compliance training modules for staff, and then the procurement of terms and contractor agreements as well. Specific policy or program changes that we've included within the certification are related primarily to Policy Update 126 in November of 2025 that reflected both legal and local policy, and then regulations to update to align within the requirements of the 89th legislation. Employee standards of conduct were updated, as well as ongoing professional development and guidance provided to educators regarding the teaching of controversial topics within secondary courses. And then there was an instructional material review process that was instated as well in compliance with Update 126. As far as cost savings, there were no cost savings identified as a result directly to these actions. Our curriculum resources are aligned with the State Board of Education approved instructional materials, and we have had strict adherence to state curriculum standards as far as the TEKS. Any questions?
Thank you, Dr. Muskies. I know, and we had all those policies in our packet, and just there were no changes. Those all just came from the update that we had back in November. So
that is correct.
This was not a policy update. It was just to provide those policies for you all the lists that she had up earlier, just to show that we are aligning with the Senate bill. So is there any questions or comments from any other trustees? Ms. Chidgey.
Well, and just to be clear, most of those policies, as I read them, came from the legislative session. Is that accurate?
That's
it looked
correct.
like to
Yes.
me.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the purpose of go from there to get it into our policies, yes.
This is the documentation that we did take action on those updates. And that was in November of last year that these policies were updated. So this is the compilation of all the actions that we took.
Yeah. So those policies we approved
Already
those
in
back
place.
in November.
Correct.
They're already in place. We have to certify every year that we are in compliance with those policies. And there are a handful of local policies that we already went through last year in the fall.
Word by word.
Most of them, to your point, are legal, which come directly from legislation. So we are certifying that we comply with the policies, is what we're saying.
Thank you.
Questions? All right, seeing none, do I have a motion to certify the compliance with the Senate Bill 12 laws as presented to us?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Chidgey. Do I have a second? I will second. Nope, you got that, Ms. Cox. Ms. Chidgey?
Aye.
Mr. Byer, aye. Mrs. Garcia?
Aye.
Mrs. Cox?
Aye.
And Mrs. Shelton?
Abstain.
All right, motion passes with 4 ayes, 0 nays, and 1 abstain. All right, thank you all very much for putting that together for us. Item B, business services, possible action regarding health and dental insurance premiums. Mrs. Lackhorn.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, Mr. Jarrett, executive staff, and guests. Tonight we bring you the premium from our budget study sessions where we discuss not changing premiums for health and decreasing our premiums for dental. So this is the same as we talked about in June at budget study session number 2.
Anybody have any questions for Mrs. Lackhorn? And how is that money, the decrease, we had a bit of what is happening with that additional money?
So
Wasn't there a pool that we were?
So we have a premium refund we're going to do later in the year.
That's right, okay.
And then because we keep having to provide that premium refund, not that anybody's complaining, but we figured we'll start lowering those premiums to see if we do a better balancing.
Yeah, okay. Any other questions? Did you have one, Ms. Shelton? You're fine.
Answer. So I just want, for the record, because we got at least one email about this, and I know the answer, but I do want to say it publicly, that what we've put together with the 3 plans allows us as a district to maintain the cost of the premiums for our employees and maintain the expense to us as a district so that everyone, so from fiscally, it's even. Go ahead. You know where I'm going.
Yes, ma'am. Given the deficit situation that the district's in, it's prudent for us to try to keep our district contribution at the same level, and as health insurance costs tend to go up every year. So if we can find ways to save money on the plan and keep our district contribution level, then that prevents our deficit from growing. On the flip side, for our employees, again, given the deficit, we did not provide a raise, and so we also don't want employees to take home less money than they did the year before. So we wanted to do all the things that we could do to give them an opportunity to keep their premiums at the same so that their take-home pay did not go down.
And for the majority of our employees, adding the HMO and removing the low PPO is moot.
93% of those providers are on that same plan, and so you have the added burden of getting a referral for a specialist, but we are finding more and more primary care physicians are doing referrals over the phone without that visit. We're working with insurance to make that just as smooth as possible.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for doing that work to try to create solutions that help us take care of everyone. So I appreciate that effort.
In a perfect world, we'd all have very, very affordable insurance and more money in our pocket.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, seeing none, do I have a motion to approve the health and dental insurance premiums as presented to us? Thank you, Ms. Shelton. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Chidgey. Ms. Chidgey?
Aye.
Mr. Byer, aye. Mrs. Garcia?
Aye.
Mrs. Cox?
Aye.
And Ms. Shelton?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Item 2, possible action regarding purchase of attendance credits. Back to you, Mrs. Lackhorn.
One of my favorite items of the year. We are not in recapture, but for years now, the state has identified us as being potentially in recapture at some point in time in the future. So because they've identified us as such, we must go through and make all the elections as if we were in recapture. And so tonight, we ask that you elect that we purchase attendance credits if we need to for recapture. We do not need to. We are not in recapture. We're about $100 million away from recapture. But we have to tell the state we would buy attendance credits as our method of paying recapture. There are several methods. None of them are fun. And so we just have to select a method, submit it to TEA. They will not let us adopt our tax rate until we submit this paperwork. But bear in mind, we are not in recapture, and this is just literally clicking a button for the state.
Mrs. Chidgey?
Can you explain attendance credits?
So basically, the state says you are collecting in taxes too much money per student. So we're going to buy students by purchasing attendance credits in order for us to meet that level. And that purchase of attendance credits is basically us, if we were in recapture, which we're not. So that would be us writing a check to the state, in theory, to pay them back the extra tax collections we had above and beyond what they said our entitlement, the cup, right? So, yeah, but I can't go very long without talking about it. But so that for whatever amount they say above and beyond our entitlement, we purchase that amount in attendance credits, and that's how we give the money back to the state. One of the options, and this is probably not a rabbit hole you want to go down to tonight, but it would be to take part of our property and give it to another district. So there are very complex methods to handle recapture. Purchasing attendance credits is the most simple one. And no matter what we're doing right now, we're not there yet. Did that help?
And the other options are we can accept more or non-resident students is one option. We can consolidate with another district our tax bases, so there's much more complicated ways of handling this.
Sorry, and technically once we get to that point, we actually hold a real election for our voters to approve us doing something for that. So again, it's a good thing that it's quite a ways off. 100 million.
Any other questions? All right, do I have a motion to approve purchase of attendance credits as outlined for us?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Shelton. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Cox. Mrs. Chidgey?
Aye.
Mr. Byer, aye. Mrs. Garcia?
Aye.
Mrs. Cox?
Aye.
And Mrs. Shelton?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Mrs. Lackhorn. Item C, Operations 1, possible action regarding right-of-way agreement with Outer Loop Utility at Reagan High School. We did have one person sign up to speak on this. So, you're good.
Out of everybody's patience, I necked an entire page down to a few questions. So thank you for letting me speak and ask this question. I'm happy to speak on behalf of other parents and community members in the Reagan area. The original agreement y'all signed, while it is ideally buried, this 21-inch pipe or whatever it is, 3 feet down, the agreement does say it could only be a foot down or so. So I know that they're trying to put it in with an existing utility corridor, and I assume that's a water line. I have no idea. But I guess my question is exactly how far down will it be, and do we have that in writing from them? The new route, I guess, will be disclosed as well. My question is only if it's still going through the girls' softball field, will it affect in any way girls' softball because of Title IX concerns? Just something to think about. From a risk management, I'm sure you've done all that homework. I just wanted to know, would there be more insurance that needs to be purchased and things like that over the years to cover tragedies or whatever? Let's see. Okay, then the action item that I saw said that the district's going to just not, or the campus won't issue parking passes in order to accommodate the November to February construction. I would just suggest something better, that maybe we let them park there August, September, October until the day before they start. Parking at Reagan is really horrendous. The drop-off situation is really horrendous. And there's also already a need for more parking than there is. So I don't know how many slots. It'll be 5, 10, or 30 or more. So it may not be that big of a deal, but I hope you'll have some kind of solution to make it up for that situation. The proposal is offering the district, it looks like somewhere around $500,000 to accept the modified plan on top of what they're already offering. And that is part of that. A large chunk of that is for inconvenience. So who's being inconvenienced? Really, parents, teachers, staff are the ones being inconvenienced. So I'm trying to ask or figure out how that money will go, and maybe it's toward a creative parking solution, shuttling or something, but how will that money actually go to the people who are being inconvenienced rather than being put into the general fund and used for something that it was not intended to be used for? So those are my basic questions. Thank you. And Mrs. Chidgey, I know you'll stand up for the community, so looking forward to hearing any ideas and solutions you might have. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Mrs. Caldwell, the floor is yours.
Yes, Mr. Byer. Thank you for the time tonight. Howard Energy Partners who manages the outer loop utility, is requesting your approval tonight to amend the right-of-way agreement that you initially took action on in March. The amendment is a result of information that they received in May after your vote, environmental information, geotechnical engineering information. That information caused concern at Howard Energy regarding the protection of the aquifer. If you recall, that proposal that was brought to you in March included boring that involves chemicals. We have experts here from Howard to answer those questions. I certainly am not the expert, but just wanted to explain the why of why the route was changed. They felt that there was risk associated with the Edwards aquifer, and they sought a new plan. So tonight, they are going to present that overview to you. These are the same maps that you have in your packet, but wanted them to have that opportunity to talk about that route. With us tonight, we have Anthony Welty, who's the Senior Director of Major Capital Projects, and Carson Robb, who is the Director of Land and Permitting. So at this time, I'd like to invite Anthony to the podium to talk through that updated route and some of the reasons behind a different location.
So, good evening, President Byer, Vice President Chidgey, and Superintendent Jarrett, members of the board, and the executive staff. Thank you for allowing us to come in and share with you the reasons that we are needing to adjust the route and request an amendment to our right-of-way agreement. As Ms. Caldwell said, my name is Anthony Welty. I'm the Senior Director of Major Capital Projects for Howard Energy Partners. And I am an overall project manager for the Outer Loop Utility project as well. Before I begin and walk through the information that we have this evening, I'd just like to share a little bit of background about myself. I've born and raised here in San Antonio. I've lived here all my life. This is my community. This is a place where I love to be and where I am raising my family. There was only a few short years that I didn't live in San Antonio, where my wife was serving in the U.S. military, in the Army, and we were stationed in Fort Bliss. But once she finished her commitment, we made our return back to San Antonio because this is where we want to be. I'm the father of 4 children, 2 grandchildren, and one of my daughters out of my 4 children recently graduated high school here in the San Antonio area. And during her time in high school, she was part of the dance team. And being part of the dance team offered a unique experience both for me and my wife because we were very active in the Booster Club organization. And as you know, those are some of the, the heartbeats of what keep our programs moving, both in the fine arts, band, athletics. That support is tremendous and needed. And so during her time and in her senior year, I was actually able to serve as the Booster Club president for her dance team, which also gave me a further unique insight to the programs in the background that go on to support the students and all of the resources, time, and effort that are needed to coordinate amongst, again, the dance team, the band, and the football and athletic programs, and they all perform together and under the Friday night lights, as you would say. And why that's important is because we recognize that, this is going to cause a disruption to the normal campus operations of Reagan High School. And I just wanted to let you know that we appreciate that, we're sensitive to it, and our commitment from the beginning has been to minimize that disruption as much as possible. And we stand by that commitment, and I hope that you'll feel that and recognize that this evening as we go through the information. Before we get into the details of the route change, I did want to take the opportunity to share some of the overview of the project for those that may not have heard it prior. I understand we do have some new members that are part of the board and for those that are in the audience as well. The Outer Loop Utility Project is a 60-mile pipeline. It originates on the southern portion of San Antonio. It goes along the east side of San Antonio through Guadalupe and Comal counties and terminates on the north side of San Antonio. And so this project is a public utility. It falls in line with critical infrastructures that you're familiar with, such as sewer, water, telecommunications, infrastructure that's needed to serve the community, and so this project does fall under that designation. Unlike other pipelines that transport gas, long distances and away from region to region, this project specifically is designed and being used to serve the San Antonio area. The gas in this pipeline will be used to serve the infrastructure in the northern region, such as power generation, hospitals, businesses, schools, homes. We all know that in this area that there's tremendous growth within San Antonio, and especially in the northern part of San Antonio, and that the demand is set to outpace the supply. And so this project is specifically there to offset that. It is a project that is needed now. It is set to come in service into the winter when that gas would be needed most. And so we are doing and working diligently to make that happen. So why was the original route selected? We're here for this very reason. Why did we choose, originally to go across the softball field? When we evaluated the multiple options for crossing Reagan High School, one of the key routes that we actually did identify was the one you see on the screen, in crossing the softball field parking lot. We specifically chose not to go down that route because it would have provided more of a disruption to the campus operations by having to open cut that parking lot and go down the existing utility corridor. So the HDD that we selected that would have gone underneath the softball field and exited on the other side of the property provided the least amount of disruption to the surface. And that was our goal, and that was our commitment to you all along. And that's why that route was chosen. However, as we learned more information, as Ms. Caldwell noted, and as is in your packet, we performed geotechnical studies as a part of any HDD drill that anyone completes, because you have to know the subsurface information in detail to do the detailed engineering for the pipeline drill. As that information came in and the design advanced, we began to understand that there was potential for an impact to the Edwards Aquifer, and such that the drilling fluids could have been not returned to the surface as we were completing the HDD. And that being the case, and once we understood that information, and noting that it is a potential, not a certainty, but a potential, we take very personally that it's important for us to be good stewards of the environment. Above all, safety is our priority, safety for the community, safety for our team members, and again, as I mentioned, safety for the environment. So even with the potential for an impact to the aquifer, we stopped, and we needed to step back and think, what does this mean, and what is the right thing to do? One of our core values at Howard Energy Partners is doing the next right thing, even when that next right thing is hard. And this is us actually living out our core value. This is not an easy decision. We recognize the resources and time and effort that the board and the district staff put into approving the right-of-way agreement originally. But with this information, it's something that we simply could not ignore, and we needed to do the next right thing. And that is us here this evening to discuss the new route. The new route that we are focusing on is actually the original route that we did not select in the options originally when we were here before. And it is going down the northwest corner of the school property in an existing utility corridor. Again, why do we not select that route? Because that's the softball field parking lot. And to go down this route, we are going to have to open cut that parking lot and to install the pipeline. And recognizing that that will provide a disruption to the campus operations. And as I mentioned earlier, we're sensitive to that. So in coordinating with district staff and coming down this new route, we worked closely to optimize this route as much as possible, to consider future growth for the district so that you have maximum capability to use the surface as much as possible. So some of those examples are that The original HDD drill had a 50-foot permanent easement and associated with it. We've now decreased that to 30 feet against the property line. We are going to be installing the pipeline. There was a discussion of the depth of the pipeline earlier. That depth of this pipeline will actually be at 5 feet deep from the top of cover. And so that's important because as we open cut the parking lot, we are going to have to remove portions of it to install the pipeline. We will be reinstalling and repaving the parking lot and putting it back to the same or better condition than before. But that depth of 5 feet will allow for that parking lot to be reinstalled safely and to be utilized, as intended. Another area that we worked closely on with the district staff was the crossing of the entrance to Reagan High School coming off of Huebner Road. We, of course, recognize that it's very important to not change the ingress and egress of the facility for many multiple reasons, not just campus operations, emergencies, things, and et cetera. So the crossing that you see coming underneath the entrance to Reagan High School is actually going to be a road bore, and that will also be 5 feet deep. And that depth will allow for the potential of any expansion to the entrance to the high school. That is being taken into consideration as well as we are designing this pipeline route. And so again, our commitment to provide the most flexibility and consideration for any future growth, our operations of the school is there. And so coming back to the parking lot, we recognize that that's a critical priority for Reagan High School, as was mentioned earlier by the guest speaker. And we want to support and be able to participate in finding that best solution for the district. And so with that, we did work with the district staff as well as the principal at Reagan High School to identify the best solution for the temporary parking situation when we would be in construction. If you could please go to the next slide. One more, please. So this is the temporary parking consideration solution. You will see multiple parking lots. Those are parking lot parcels outlined in red, and specifically one in green. So after reviewing the multiple on and off parking solutions off campus, and again, like I mentioned, working with district staff, Pape Dawson, the environmental engineering firm for the district, you will see that one key request, or you will see, as I mentioned it, that one key request that we did hear loud and clear from the school principal was that the students remain on campus. This was our effort to exhaust all options and just bring that to for consideration. But as that request was made, that limited the availability of parking to the two options you'll see within the school boundaries, one in red and one in green. The red being the soccer field and the green being the band practice parking lot. So we understand the need for the band's instructional space, and especially during the initial parts of the school year and during football season. Again, being a parent that's worked with dance, all the practice, again, halftime performances, just run-throughs, the space is needed, especially, for prep and going into competitions. We understand that, and we are very sensitive to it. And so to that extent, as I mentioned earlier, the project is needed now, but we have worked with district staff. We are revising our construction schedule to not begin construction activities until after the last football game of the season, in effort to recognize and provide the most flexibility. So that date is November 6th. I believe it is an away game, actually, but irregardless, we know that that's important, and again, this is our effort to work as closely with you as possible in that. So understanding that, should the band need to practice after November 6th, we are providing funds that can be utilized by the district as needed or determined to assist in if there is an impact or the band needs to practice in another facility, to be able to offset some of those disruptions. Some options for that may be actually using the soccer field, or maybe if the football field wasn't available for some reason. Hopefully it is. Hopefully, you know, Reagan High School continues to perform and move forward. But if it's not on the football field, if it's not, the soccer field could be utilized as well. You could use that to paint lines there, transport equipment. You know, we'll talk about the funds here in a second, but those funds that we are giving to the district can be utilized for the support of that and recognizing of the disruption to the normal school activities. So,
Mr. Welty, if I could just interject.
Yes, ma'am.
That parking lot idea of parking cars on that extra soccer field, this is not the varsity soccer field that has that parking lot. This is another field that is actually multi-use. We went pretty deep in exploring that all the way to Pave Dawson calling TCEQ, the environmental agency for Texas, to ask about that. Because you're over Edwards Aquifer, because Reagan property has a certain percentage of impervious cover restrictions, meaning water not permeating through the ground like asphalt would prevent, because you have tree ordinances in the city of San Antonio, it was ultimately determined that putting cars on that soccer field would create a disruption to the land as viewed by TCEQ, which would require a 90-day permitting process, which this project would be pretty much finished within 90 days. So while that was something that we really spent a lot of time digging in on, exploring, going back and forth with their engineers, our engineers, Dr. Reininger from Reagan, ultimately it was viewed as not a feasible solution because of the TCEQ requirements in that area. So I wanted to point that out. The marching band is reserved during marching band season, usually for those senior marching band students who can move their cars for practice. So they don't release all of the marching band spots in the fall to permits. Usually after November, they are releasing those spots to sophomores, as an example. So to answer the question of what's the disruption to parking, Dr. Reininger and his staff reviewed last year's information and prior year's information. Based off of that, he feels confident he can issue permits to all juniors and seniors. Sophomores, those who are turning 16 and getting their license during the school year, they would not be issued permits until that baseball lot is restored to its condition. So you would have some sophomore students who would not be receiving their permits during this time. And I asked him specifically about how many sophomores are turning 16 between November and February when this would be completed. And he said that last year they did about 46 sophomores who bought permits between November and February. And they don't ever release permits before November because they need that parking lot at the band to do that. So that would be the impact of the parking.
Thank you. I'll add that even though we're beginning construction in November, we do anticipate the entire process, including the repaving and restoration of the parking lot, to take 90 days. So that would put us finishing up in February. Earlier, I spoke about the funds that are going to be provided to the district, and so we recognize that the approval of the initial route and all the time and effort that went into working with us on that is very critical and important, and we also recognize that we did make the payment in the transaction of $274,091 to the district for that route. We're not asking for that to be unwinded or to come back or to be added to consideration for this new route. That money is with the district and it will remain with the district. Separately, Howard Energy Partners will compensate NEISD for in the sum of an additional $211,714 for the new easement area that is going through the parking lot, as well as for the additional temporary workspace that's needed. Now, above and beyond those two payments, Howard Energy proposes to give the district an additional lump sum of $350,000 to be used at your discretion, specifically for any type of inconvenience that may have been caused or to solve any of this concerns that may come during the construction time frame. but that is totally at the district's discretion on how you wish to use those funds. And so in closing, we appreciate the partnership with NEISD. We appreciate the continued work with our team, specifically with Ms. Caldwell and Ms. Jorge Cabello, who were instrumental in supporting and helping us to refine the new route as much as possible and consider the future growth and opportunities for Reagan High School. When we talk about building trust in our communities and establishing transparent relationships and where we do business, because Howard Energy Partner is a local company, our families work here, our students go to school here, we live here. This is one of the best examples that I can think of. And so we really appreciate your partnership and the time to be able to work together on this. And I do thank you for your time and consideration. At this time, I'll be glad to take any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Welty. Appreciate the
Yes,
the update. Looks like we had Ms. Shelton, and then we'll go to Ms. Chidgey.
You can go first, Ms. Chidgey, if you want. It's your district.
Ms. Chidgey.
Thank you. So I'd like to talk about the disruption to arrival and dismissal. It looks like the road that they go in the back gate off of Huebner. Well, one, Huebner's going to be torn up at some point. Is that accurate?
It will not be. We will cross Huebner underneath the same bore method that we will be crossing underneath the entrance. So Huebner will not be impacted as far as operations from.
And so the back entrance, you're going to bore, you will not disrupt it.
That's exactly correct. Yeah.
So there will be no traffic jams out there.
No traffic jams.
Other than what's already there.
I'll add in additional, we will work closely with the school directly to minimize and adjust any of our traffic, construction pattern coming in so as to not affect any of the ingress and egress for students as well during peak times.
Okay, thank you. And then what about drilling, sound, all of that? How will that affect the academic building? I don't have any concept of how loud this is going to be, or machinery that's coming in, or how will this impact the students in a classroom?
We don't anticipate that it will have an impact. We're going to follow the San Antonio sound ordinances. Very specifically, we have all of the decibel readings for our equipment, and that establishes the baseline for that. But to the extent there is an impact, I commit to you that we will work with the school to address that as soon as possible.
Okay, and then Mrs. Hilliard asked about insurance. Does this, you cover the insurance on this, or how does that impact us at all?
I would refer that back to the district as far as insurance on the property, I would imagine. I think that
well, as you're doing your construction.
Mm-hmm. Our contractors do maintain insurance as well when we go through construction. So if the project is specifically about construction, yes, the question, there is insurance with our contractors. So if there is a concern there, that will be covered by our contractor's insurance. But the ultimate liability lies with Howard Energy.
Okay. And then you feel comfortable with your timeline?
I do, yes. The only thing that could impact our timeline, honestly, I think we're all aware, is weather. On any project that we do outside, but I do commit to you and also to the school that we will maintain in constant communication if there is any adjustment to that due to weather. But that's really in an open cut situation, and in this crossing, that's our true unknown.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Shelton.
Thank you for coming back.
Yes, ma'am.
90 days. That's how long it takes. So I have a series of questions.
Please.
And they are really meant to help me make a decision about how I'm going to vote and to inform our community. At what point in the process, as you knew you had to do a gas line, did you start to consider the environmental impacts of what you were going to do?
From day one. From the route, from the initial concept of the pipeline, the environmental impacts are always.
That's what I thought. So if from day one,
mm-hmm.
you were considering the environment and you were considering the Edwards Aquifer, which we all rely on, Why did we not know when you came here? And this was a very difficult vote for us.
Yes, ma'am.
We're all parents. We all love the children in this district. We're stewards of this. And so it was hard for us to say yes to you. Why did you not know the impact to the aquifer based on the route that you gave us and asked us to approve?
Sure. No, that's a great question, and I appreciate your sincerity and understanding that. And so why we did not know that is because we didn't have the full detailed information at the time when we came here initially, because the geotechnical studies were being performed there. So the results of those geotechnical studies were in process, and the final reports came after the vote. And after the vote is, it's unfortunate, but that is when the information came to us, and that is when we had to change our construction method and the route.
You talked about transparency and earning trust.
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
Trust is really hard to earn, and it's easy to lose. The fact that you did not have your studies complete before you asked us to risk our property and potentially our students with the pipeline is unfortunate. And so my question to you is, what happens if we say no to you tonight?
If the project is still needed. So if the vote is no, we will need to continue to move forward in a parallel path to continue to proceed with the project. I believe this was discussed specifically in one of the last board meetings. I think you had asked the question. But the project, being a public utility, does have the right of eminent domain. And to serve the greater good in the public, we would still need to move forward and utilize that right of eminent domain as a public utility.
So what I hear you saying, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is if we vote no, you're going to take our land and do it anyway.
The process of taking the land through eminent domain, is that, I believe that's what you're saying?
That's what you just said.
Yeah. We would use the process of eminent domain to continue to move forward, yes.
So you would take our land and do it anyway? Is yes or no?
Yes, we would use the process of eminent domain to continue to move forward to serve the greater public good, as this project is intended to do, as critical infrastructure, similar to any water line, sewer line, or telecommunications infrastructure as well.
The plan that you're asking us to approve now was your original plan that you didn't present to us, or you didn't ask us to approve. And now you're saying that's the way we want to go. You knew that in May when your geo studies came back after we had approved it. Summer is 3 months. Why would you ask us to, why would you not have done it in summer when there is the least amount of disruption to our classrooms, our students, our teachers, and our staff, but yet we want to do it in the middle of the school year? Why can't you just wait until May of 2027?
Because, as I mentioned previously, the project is needed now to serve the necessary infrastructure in the coming winter. And this
winter's like 5 days in Texas. Like, I think I'm sounding flip, and I don't really mean to be flip. I am disappointed. I'm slightly offended, and I feel like you are putting, because you have eminent domain on your side, you're putting us in a position where we have to say yes to you for what I don't think is that much consideration. $835,000 is not really that much money, and it's clearly less money than it's costing you, the opportunity cost for you. So I am, what you're receiving from me is a combination of frustration, feeling a little like this is kind of sort of shady, and feeling like you're putting our backs against a wall when you didn't have to, when you could have waited until you got the studies. You could have told us up front what it really was. You could have said, this is the way we're going to have to go, and then we would have made a really informed decision. But because you didn't do that, you have caused angst for us twice, which is not really, I don't think, what a partner should do to another partner. So I'm highly disappointed. And the other thing I think I heard you say is we're going to drill now at shallower depths. Well, the person that used to sit here asked I didn't understand it at the time, asked very specific questions when you were here about the depths and the safety based on those depths. So now not only are you disrupting more of the property, but you're saying we're going to go more shallow, which increases our risk. Is that not correct?
That is not correct.
Okay, so being shallow does not increase the risk?
The type of construction method does not change the safety of the pipeline. The safety of the pipeline, the design of the pipeline, that does not change whether it is an HDD or whether it is installed through an open cut or whether it is a road bore. The pipeline is still designed to the same safety standard. It is just a different construction method.
Okay. The last thing I'm going to say, and I'm going to be quiet because I can feel my mom coming out of me. And I guess I'll say to Ms. Caldwell, they need to have commercial general liability insurance in addition to their contractors, because while the buck stops with you, I need you to have insurance in case there's a problem. Not just your subs, but you're giving the right, you're going to be on our property, you need to have commercial general liability insurance, and there needs to be a waiver of subrogation that covers our district. This is in my opinion, unacceptable. This is unacceptable that this is happening to us right now, and that you're putting our backs against a wall where if we say no to you, you're going to say too bad and take it anyway. So I'm going to take my $1 million, but they need to have insurance. Thank you.
If there's simply one thing I could add on that is just noting that I understand your concern. I understand where you're coming from. And I do apologize that we didn't have this information sooner. One of the reasons we didn't have it sooner is those final reports did not come to us and to evaluate and make a final decision until June. So while those studies were being performed and while information was being developed, those cores and those samples need to go off to labs, and that takes time for them to assess the subsurface and to provide that data back to us, for the engineers to look at it and to develop their final recommendations and to give us that data, and then for us to be able to go and visit with the contractors in that aspect. So it wasn't never our intent. I do apologize that this has caused the angst, but that was not our intent to go down this route. This is a very unique situation that we did not expect to encounter.
I guess I'll just say this. You knew that the studies were outgoing. You knew that you were waiting for results. Why come to us? You don't have all the information. We asked lots of really what I thought were great questions. They were, some of it completely over my head because of the skill set that was on this panel. If you did not have the information, you're not doing it to November. Wait. And then give us all the information so we can make an informed decision. We made a decision. We said yes to you based on flawed information. And now you're asking us to make another decision. We talk about trust. Is this all the information? Or are you going to come back next month and say, oh, by the way? So I guess my point is you lost me because you told us it was one thing. And now you're coming back saying it's something else. And you're asking us to approve it or else. That's basically what you're saying. You approve it or else. And that's not fair to us. It's not fair to our community. Me and you, this is our community. It's not fair to our community. You did us wrong in this. You really did. This is not asking us to do something without having the information and insisting. I mean, you sold us on it. You sold us. And you saw the people when we voted. No one wanted to do this. But you told us it was for the greater good. It was for our community. It helped for the 5 days of winter. We needed this pipeline. And we said yes. And now you're saying it's going to upset our water supply. Come on. I mean, thank you for your time.
And Ms. Shelton, I'll just blatantly say we are back against the wall either way. back in May it was against the wall, now it's against the wall. They have the power of eminent domain regardless of what we do. And I'm not saying that as a negative, that's the reality of it.
It is reality.
And so their intent was, I believe, to do this over the summer. You were never going to do this in November.
It was, absolutely.
And so, you know, we're in a tough spot either way. We were a tough spot in May, we're in a tough spot now. But thank you for your comments and your questions. Mrs. Cox.
I just had one question regarding eminent domain. So if you used the process of eminent domain, would the district still get compensation?
Yes, the district would still get compensation.
Okay, thank you.
How long does the process of eminent domain take?
Carson, I'm sorry? Approximately 140 days, ma'am.
So you said now it's going to be a 5 foot deep. Remind me the size of the pipe.
It's a 20-inch diameter.
20 inch.
If I could just address one thing, because we are talking about eminent domain. The consideration in eminent domain goes off of the appraisal of the property itself. It is, you know, could potentially be materially different from the conversation or from the numbers that we were discussing today.
And that's not up to Howard Energy, I'll tell you.
It is not up to Howard Energy.
That is up to a judge at that point.
But I just want to, again, transparency and all the facts, ma'am. I think that was some of the root of your question, if I understood correctly.
So we're 5 feet below, that's at the top of the pipe?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And is there any consideration of being able to go lower than that? Or what would be the max depth?
I think that is the max depth that's necessary for the pavement of the parking lot or growth of the area at this time.
What else is in that utility easement currently?
It is currently a power line corridor for high voltage transmission line.
And is it currently in place, or is it just an easement for future expansion?
It's currently in place.
Currently in place. That 30 feet, so you'll run parallel, will you be above or below that? Or side by side with that?
Side by side we are adjacent to the far western corner of the property.
Okay. So
and so 15 feet, the center line of the pipeline will be 15 feet off of the property boundary, and then there's an additional 15 feet to the east of it.
Okay. And so with that, I know if you're right up against the edge of the property, we'll also be running through some trees. I don't know if we're next to those. I don't even know if those are significant trees or not that would have to get removed and replaced, but I would think we'd want to make sure that that's addressed as well as part of the repaving.
Yes, sir. The
complete
original
project.
right-of-way agreement addressed the return of trees that were removed, because they were going to have to remove some trees for the boring
That's right.
process too.
Yes.
So that right-of-way agreement, many of the elements and the things that our attorney worked with us on, that all remains. What you're amending is the route. So the right-of-way agreement protections that you originally saw are still there. This is an amendment to the route.
Okay. So one of the other items in the amendment to the agreement talked about the reconstruction, and it left it a little vague about as soon as practicable for the rebuilding of the parking lot. And I know you said the project would be done in 90 days. Can we go ahead and amend that agreement to just state the 90 days and not leave it open-ended like that for the parking lot reconstruction? I think whatever I have in my packet says, sorry, I had it and I just lost it. It's under, it says, it's on the first page. It says, additionally, grantor and grantee agree as follows. And on 1, it says, grantee will restore the surface of the existing parking lot where the amended easement crosses existing parking spaces within a reasonable time after construction of the pipeline is completed to the condition existing prior to grantee's use. I guess, the restore within a reasonable time after the construction. I guess I didn't see anywhere in here where we say it's going to be 90 days.
Yeah, our commitment to you is the 90 days. As I mentioned, the only thing that could interfere with that would just be the weather.
Weather, and I mean, with those, there's always rain days and whatnot that could kind of extend that 90 days, and I get that. I guess I just want to make sure that we're not, and maybe Ms. Caldwell, this is for you, that I want to make sure we're not out there hanging on 6 months later, trying to get a parking lot resurfaced. And in addition to that, the access road that you have identified, is that part of the reconstruction as well? Because you're going to have heavy equipment running over those.
The entrance coming into
yeah, if you flip to, maybe it's one of the next slides. I don't know if it's before or after.
Just the coming in off of Hebner Road?
Coming off of Hebner Road, then we had in our packet, there's basically I guess an easement diagram or plat that, there it is right there. So you have, on the right-hand side, it says 30-foot wide temporary access road, which is the same route as one of our existing roads. And what I want to ensure is that that is not left in a condition that is torn up.
Absolutely.
The parking lot. So we want to make sure that is also included in the resurfacing and reconstruction of the parking lot, so that we're left with a usable road when we're finished.
Yeah, any equipment that comes in or transverses in there will be wheeled equipment and offloaded. But I do understand your concern. Absolutely.
I mean, turning and moving, you've got a 90-degree turn at one point there, and that's, you're gonna, that pavement, I don't think is probably rated for heavier equipment than cars and delivery trucks. So.
I understand your concern.
Other question I have is, where did I say that? Who's the primary point of contact that you all have throughout the construction process?
The best point of contact, or
I guess for our district, who are you contacting directly?
Oh, I'm sorry.
On day-to-day during construction.
Ms. Caldwell has been our primary point of contact with the district.
Will that be the same through construction, or will that be shifted to somebody else?
Absolutely, and they also met with Dr. Reininger, of course, him as that on-site person. If things are loud or disruptive, he also, of course, can speak to the crew, the site manager who is there as well.
Okay. Well, I mean, I would say with a lot of moving parts, I want to make sure that there's a clear line of who's supposed to talk to who, and we don't need somebody giving conflicting information. And so, and that kind of parlays to my next comment about safety and security. I understand all the work is kind of at the back of the school, but are we going to ensure that they're still going through the check-in process? They all get their background checks, Raptor, whatever do we have to do to make sure all prime contractors, subcontractors are in that system. And I don't know if they have to go through the front office every day, or if we have a different protocol for construction projects, but we don't need people just coming in and out.
You're correct. We usually have contractor badges as an example, where they're not just like in the front office or restricted to a construction area with those badges as well. We talked with Howard Energy about that during the original proposal that they brought to you all. They talked about the background checks that they do. So if you could talk a little bit about that.
Yes, we have talked with our contractor, and we are fully prepared to adhere to whatever background check requirements that are necessary to follow the school protocols and access requirements.
Okay. And I guess for the district, will we have somebody back there monitoring that? Are we having to pay for that, or are we, because it'll be kind of free, I assume it'll be an open gate now during the school day for construction activities, and do we have to have somebody back there then to watch that, or are we having them provide security to check people's badges?
So we do have other gates on the Reagan property that can be closed.
That we can section that off.
That we can continue to section as you make down, but I'll have a campus police officer there. We can definitely coordinate that with Dr. Reininger for that, if that is a concern that you have, that they be monitored.
I mean, just so that they don't go out of the space that they're supposed to go. I guess that's
Understood.
what we have to do.
We have gates that I'll work with Dr. Reininger and Jorge Cabello to make sure that we've got that flow of the contractors regulated.
Okay. And Mr. Welty, I guess, what are the proposed hours of operation? I know you said you would adjust for our schedule. Have you been given a preliminary bell schedule as to what we have going on? Or what was your proposed hours of operation?
Normal construction hours, begin at 7 a.m. And, could go until around 5 o'clock or so. But as I mentioned, we will adjust to whatever's best for the school. Our commitment's to minimize that impact and disruption. So if, to allow school traffic to proceed in and out, if we need to push that back or condense some of that time frame, we're prepared to do that.
Are you proposing Saturday work as part of the baseline schedule?
Yes.
Okay. Mrs. Caldwell, it might be helpful if you have Dr. Reiniger provide the bell schedule, because I think, and even the practice schedule, so that we can know when the influx of traffic is coming in, if this is to go forward, know when the influx of traffic is coming in and out, so that they can either pause operations or whatever. Just probably be helpful.
Absolutely. That campus calendar with those various activities as well as the bell schedule is something that we definitely could provide. Additionally, this project spans the Thanksgiving break and the Christmas break as well.
Correct. Yeah. Yep.
So, and I know you've been working closely with Ms. Caldwell. November 6th is the tentative start date, correct?
Yes, sir.
So my question, and I don't know if the urgency is because you said to bring heat and different things to the community, but I believe in Reagan football, and so my assumption is they're going to go into the playoffs, and typically that goes into the Thanksgiving break. So what harm would it be to delay the start of the project so that the band kiddos aren't having to pivot and go to different sites so they can finish out the season and then start the project during the break? So what would be the risk of that delay?
Pushing back the overall in-service of the project. We are adjusting the overall construction schedule to fit within this specific window. To continue to push it back could delay the overall need or the overall in-service date of the project. But again, if there was a disruption or any kind of inconvenience that occurred after November 6th, that's a lot of the main purpose of what we're providing the additional $350,000 to help offset some of that impact and to be able to provide resources to continue operations or to address that impact.
Maybe I need to ask it differently. So I guess my question is 90 days to complete the project. So let's just say you start November 26th. You were still in the project close to February, which is really the peak cold time that families would need to have the heat, correct? So is there a high risk to starting that Thanksgiving break in lieu of the 6th? It's 2 weeks difference. I'm just trying to minimize the shifting of our staff and our kiddos. And so if it's truly a risk, I just would like to hear what that is. If not, why couldn't we move it to the end of November instead of the 6th?
No, I understand. I think we could definitely, we'll take that back and it's something that we can work with you to accommodate if that is the true concern and issue. If the 2 weeks becomes the deciding factor, we don't want that to stand in the way of the project moving forward.
So just for clarity, the vote tonight is to vote whether it's approved by the board to do it, but the contractual start time is something that we will finalize before the work starts, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And if I may, we talked about insurance a little while ago, but we kind of delved off into during construction. But back in the spring, we checked with our underwriters on whether or not this would impact our premiums for our annual property insurance. The underwriters came back and said no, it wouldn't. And in a bit of good news, we got our quote back recently for our annual premiums for property insurance, and they came in about $300,000 lower than last year. So something nice.
Yes, thank you for clarifying that. I had that question and it's scribbled under a note here about the insurance. So, any other questions, Ms. Shelton?
I love good news. That helps me with my question. So when is your proposed, what's your date to complete the project?
So to bring the project into service.
Into service, okay.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
We were targeting at the end of December to try and bring the project into service.
Originally?
Originally, this segment, yes, and they ended kind of the end. Well, let me rephrase that. Originally, early November. This segment is now have a target date of the end of December. So there's a portion of the project that will be coming into service beforehand. This segment is going to be serving and coming into service at the end of December.
Okay. Accounting major, not a math major. So walk me through, how can it come into service at the end of December and it takes 90 days and you're not starting until the beginning of November? So
keep in mind the 90 days includes the paving of the parking lot, so we anticipate that to take the approximate 30 days is what we've allotted for that repaving or resurfacing. So actual construction, we anticipate to be able to get through within 60 days, but we need to include the full restoration of the parking lot as well. So that's the full 90-day window.
So can you give me that date? What is your, not in service, but completely done off of our property? What's your anticipated, if
so
you're
have
calling
we
that
been able to start on November 6th? We anticipated that being November, December, January, February 6th. But we were talking about extending that further, so that would now extend us into potentially the third week of February or toward the latter end, for the full resurfacing of the project and for us to be completely off property.
Okay, and starting 2 weeks later would get our parking lot the 1st of March, and we'd be just in time for the 5 days of winter for the servicing of the pipeline. Yes?
I think we're focusing on the winter a little bit heavily, but this is also to service, homes, hospitals. This is not, heat is an important thing. Also, power and electricity generation as well. But your timeline of being finished in March, if we do move, is correct.
And I feel like I'm belaboring this, but I really do want you to wait till next summer. So are we having an issue right now in that area with not having enough? I'm going to get off of the 5 days of winter because you're saying it's more than that. Are we having an issue right now in that area servicing people to have power? Or is it anticipated that we need this because we know that this area is growing, and so we're being proactive to get the power supply to the community in advance of the need?
Yes, it's the second part of it.
It's the latter.
Yeah, so these projects take a long time to construct, advance, and design, and that gas will be utilized as soon as it is available, but also to provide the volumes for future growth as well.
So if it's primarily the latter and not Tracy's 5 days of winter, it's the latter, it's the future growth. Why can't we start on the last day of school, 2027, and you're saying it's only 60 days for your part in service and then 30 days for our parking lot? That gives you June, you're done in July, our parking lot is finished in August. The children come back to school as if nothing ever happened. And you're pushed back 6 months, but you're already pushed back 6 months because your study wasn't done. So if this is future ready, then you're 9 months behind plan, but you don't disrupt us, and everyone's happy.
Yeah, I understand where you're saying that this is future ready, and that is a portion of the project, but there's portions of it that are needed now. Okay, so it's about servicing and needing volumes today and future growth. It is not just one side of that.
Okay. I'll let that go.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Any other questions from anyone? your, I guess, contingent on starting later in November, sounds like that's something you're amenable to.
Yes, sir. We're not going to let 2 weeks stand in the way of progress and continuing to work with the district. So,
comments, questions? All right. Ms. Chidgey.
Is it possible to go back to the powers that be and ask if we could kick it down the curb till the summer?
unfortunately, it's not, ma'am.
I mean, if we tabled it tonight till next month for you to look into that?
I already know the answer to that, is that the project needs to move forward now.
Okay.
All right. Well, I'm going to make a motion to approve the right-of-way agreement with Outer Loop Utility contingent upon a later November, I guess. I don't have an exact date in front of me.
Are you wanting to start the Monday of the Thanksgiving break? November 23rd?
November 23rd.
And
That's
so,
Thanksgiving break.
just for clarity, with that contingency upon that acceptance of the date, when Howard Energy either accepts or rejects that, the motion that you would make would not require us to bring that back. You would then be able to sign the documents because your motion tonight is contingent upon that? It just, so I understand the process.
So I am in favor of moving forward with the project. I guess I would request that we have a November 23rd date. So my motion is to approve the agreement.
We'll
Requesting a
commit to the
November
November 23rd date.
And if, I'm going to.
So you're committing to it tonight?
Yes.
Okay.
Taking that public video notice. So I move to approve the agreement with the November 23rd start date. All right. Seeing no seconds, do I have another motion? All right. I move to not approve the agreement of the right-of-way with the Outer Loop Utility at Reagan High School. Seconds? 4 seconds. Motion fails. Any other motions?
I'd like to make a motion that, well, let me ask Ms. Caldwell, do we have all their studies, the geo studies, Ms. Caldwell? Does your team have them?
I do not have the studies.
I would like to make a motion that we ask Howard Energy for all of the studies relevant to the property and any what may or may not happen as it relates to the property. And if after our team reviews those studies, they find that what they are proposing to do makes sense, then we would approve for them to have the new route with a start date no earlier than the spring semester of 2027.
Clarification, who is reviewing those studies?
Ms. Caldwell's team, whoever her experts are.
And typically with a geotechnical study, we would engage a third-party engineer in that. So wanted you to be aware that we would rely on Pape Dawson. I'd be happy if you would like to ask Mr. Cabello how that would work, but typically we would engage a third-party engineer to review that on our behalf.
And here's what I want. The reason I'm asking for us to review them is I do not want to come back here and say, oops, by the way, we found something else. So I want us to look at the documentation and be comfortable that this is all of it. There's not going to need to be a change. We're not going to disrupt our students again. It's a trust thing for me now, right? That's my primary concern. My secondary concern is that we should, it's not our kids' fault that this wasn't done on time, and we should not disrupt our students because people were slow. It's not your fault either, right? People were slow. And so I think I want to start in the summer, if possible, or spring break, because school's almost over. It's, and maybe I don't understand, and I'm happy to have coffee and you can educate me. Maybe I don't understand the urgency, but my guess is you've been digging around with studies for 24 months at a minimum, and so I don't know what 9 more months does to stop the process. So that's where I'm coming from. That's my point of reference. I know we have to do it, and I know we have to partner together. I'd like you to partner more. I'd like you to give a little bit more to us. I appreciate the money. That's great. But we're incredibly inconvenienced.
Ms. Cox.
I have a question. If this comes to eminent domain, what's that start date?
You're asking if it comes to eminent domain?
Yes.
If we begin to move forward with that?
Yes, which you will, regardless. So it's either with approval or without. So what is that start date?
Yeah, without the approval, those proceedings would be prepared.
November 6th, it would start.
I'd say immediately.
So I would like to make a motion.
Hang on, we have a motion on the table.
Sorry.
For pushing it to next year and reviewing all the studies. And my question is to you, Ms. Shelton, about reviewing the studies. I understand the intent of what you're looking for is to do a holistic understanding of everything. I don't know that we have that expertise internal, and so we would then. I'm sorry. Yes, and so we would have to then spend money to then review their.
I don't want to cost us any money, right? Like, it's costing us a lot of time right now, and them a lot of time. So I'm not trying to cost us more time or money. My earned trust Spidey is up, and I'm just not quite sure that I believe. And so I'm not sure what that looks like. I'm happy to rescind the motion, but I do want to make sure that we have all the information. When I say we, I mean Ms. Caldwell's team, so that the next decision we make is the final decision and it's based on all of the facts. And I'm not sure that I believe that right now.
The only thing, Ms. Shelton, I would add, late November start time is 3 weeks of downtime where kids aren't in the school or building. The spring, we would only garner 1 week. So we would actually be increasing student traffic while the construction is going on compared to the November 23rd. That's something I would say.
And I just for clarity, I think she was intending to say start next summer, basically, is what you were saying.
Yeah, I was. I figured we could push it down. We just kick that can down.
Yeah.
And he's looking at me like, I know what you're trying to do, Tracy.
Yeah, I think
I completely appreciate
from
where you're coming
after
from
the
there.
last day of school is what your intent was.
That's really what I like. Yeah.
All right. So I have Ms. Chidgey, go ahead.
Well, so I did want to address that. We have 2 weeks at Christmas and only 1 week at spring break if it ends up being, and we have more sophomore drivers by then, more birthdays. So, I mean, I don't want to do it, but you're going to do it. So maybe I was just being hard-headed by not seconding it. I just don't want to.
Well, yeah, we still have a motion on the table.
Well,
so
but that's how I feel about that motion. I feel like if we're going to do it then, we need to do it now.
Okay. So are there any seconds to the motion? There are no seconds. All right. Do I have another motion?
Well, so I thought about making a motion.
That would be helpful. Sorry, I couldn't resist that one. That was
fair.
Not directed to you, Mrs.
No,
Cox.
I'll take it.
Off center on this thing.
It's fair. It's fair. I would like to have all the information available too, only because we're about to do this at another location. But I like the November 26th start date. So, but I think I'd feel more comfortable knowing that there won't be any more surprises, to Ms. Shelton's point. So, but Ms. Caldwell said that we don't have the expertise to evaluate the geotechnical side of that, and I don't want to have to spend money. So is there somewhere we can meet in the middle by having that shared information, or just having a better understanding of the aquifer and where the new lane is, or new drilling place are, but also move forward in cooperation with you, because we want to take the biggest advantage of this economically that we can, and knowing that eminent domain is there. I feel like if we are in partnership with all the information made available to all of us, that we may have more control as a district over this process, which is happening anyway.
And Mr. Welty, could you
Yes, ma'am.
clarify the difference in that analysis that you do from an environmental standpoint when you're going into an existing easement and you're cutting versus the boring through an area that didn't have an easement today? I assume that the geotechnical process is different if you're accessing a current easement versus going through a totally new path with the drilling method.
Absolutely. So you're exactly right. That is a completely different construction method. The geotechnical studies are actually not required just for an open excavation. So we will excavate the trench out with a trenching machine that will go down through the utility corridor to the depth of 5 feet to place the pipe. That's the advantage of the open cut, because we are no longer doing the HTD. We do not have to do those deep core samples where we were going 40 to 50 and 60 feet deep. That's no longer necessary, and so there's not going to be a geotechnical study needed to just excavate down to 5 feet. And so that there's not going to be additional information to share in that regards on the new route. But to the extent that you want to sit down afterwards, more than happy to review that with you and discuss the original studies and share that in more detail on why we came to the decision to do the right thing and adjust the route. That offer is on the table for you, Ms. Cox, at any time, right? and Ms. Shelton.
Well, and I appreciate that, and I guess I just share some of Ms. Shelton's concerns that are there going to be any other surprises? I would have, having that guarantee, I would have seconded David's motion with the start date of the 26th. And I'm not sure how. There will not be any
more surprises.
I'm not sure how we come to that conclusion, or we get that information.
Okay.
I just feel more comfortable if we had more information available to us.
Well, I guess my question, real quick before we move on, we, for a couple times, asked for more information. Who's going to review that information, and what information
that's
do
a
we
fair
need?
question.
And we don't. I mean, we can ask for everything. Who's going to interpret it? How many voices are we going to listen to interpret that information?
I guess, Mr. Byer, is there an opportunity for, I'm sorry, I forgot your name.
Anthony Welty, ma'am.
Is there an opportunity for Mr. Welty and his team to sit down, walk us through it, here's the first study, the one that didn't get done, the one that is done, walk us through it and allow us to ask those questions before we vote on something like this? Because one of the things I think he's going to say is, well, Tracy, the reason we're going all the way around now is it avoids the aquifer, right? Like, there are some practical questions that we can, if he explains it, here's the study, here's what it means, and allows us to go through it, there's some practical things, I think, and I'm, accountant, that will allow us to then better understand why they're making the decisions that they're making. He's giving a presentation that is boxed, right? He's telling us what he wants us to know. If we can look at it and read it, and you guys know I'll go through every word and have a bunch of questions, then he and his team can say, well, this is what that means, and we can kind of look to Deb or Hale, whoever, and say, okay, or Google, right, and try to figure that out before we make a decision. I will tell you, from my vantage point, my vote tonight will be a no. Regardless of what the motion is, it's going to be a no, because I don't have any trust right now in what you're saying and what you're presenting to me. All I see is what this curated piece on the screen, right? I recognize, though, that my fiduciary duty is to make sure that we don't lose anything as a district. And so I would love to look at your reports, ask a bunch of questions, have you help me understand it so that I can feel better about a yes, because we have to get to yes. And you owe us, in my opinion, compensation for disrupting us, for the fact that we've now spent an hour on this conversation, right? I think, and we owe you the time and the consideration to really listen and hear you and be a good partner. But it's hard for me to do that right now because I'm not really feeling good about what you've presented to me. And so that's what I mean by, can we sit down, because I know Ms. Caldwell can't do it. Can they sit down with us, walk us through it, let us go line by line, answer the questions so that we can get to where we need to be?
Can I make a recommendation? Because to me, it sounds like it's going to get very technical in that evaluation process. And at that point, everybody's highly capable and intelligent, but at the same time, you get down in the weeds, perhaps we don't quite understand the detail. Would it be feasible for your company to pay for an independent evaluation, someone, to review what you're doing, give us a stamp of approval, because what I'm hearing is there are some trust issues that got lost in the journey. So if someone else comes in that's independent and says, this is good, this is sturdy, this is safe, everything is good, now you have a professional looking at it without just the questions, but actually someone that understands the numbers, the depth, and all of the complexities of it, and they are coming back. So we won't move forward until that person says, this plan is solid, it is safe, it is secure. That is given to the board. The board now has that information from someone that is not necessarily your company that has a benefit to this, and then they can make approval that way. Just a thought to step outside, because I think, to Ms. Sheldon's point, why would we pay ourselves for something that we don't even want or have to do? But if this is something that we want expedited, is permissioning us to have a third party evaluate your project, verify that it's safe and secure, and then we can move forward with the November 26th date. That's just a thought.
If I could respond, starting with Ms. Shelton. So just to make sure I understand the request on the studies, you want to review the geotechnical studies that in the reports that we received, that under our interpretation and trying to do the right thing told us to not proceed forward with the HDD, but you want to come to that conclusion on your own? Is that the studies that you want to review? You want us to
I want
that the HDD,
all of it. I want all of it reviewed, and I really like what Superintendent Jarrett just said, because it's not my level of expertise, but I've lost trust, and in order to regain that, I need some assurances. So I'd like someone independent to look at all of the information that you have and tell us absolutely this is the only way, or well, maybe there's another way. They're probably going to say absolutely this is the other way. At this point, though, I don't have the same level of trust that I did when you came months ago.
Yeah. Okay. So again, to be perfectly clear, the geotechnical studies that informed us that we should not proceed with the HDD, you want to re-review that to see if that is still the preferred route?
To be absolutely clear, I want to review every study that you have that has anything at all to do with this particular project. Anything you got. We want it all reviewed.
What does that take, Mr. Welty?
Well, we do have
by an independent person.
I'm sorry?
By an independent person.
By an independent person. We do have the geotechnical reports, and again, those geotechnical reports, I'll remind you, forced us to do the hard thing, which is to come before you and adjust our route. The easy thing would have been to just proceed forward with the HDD. So we are here to do the hard thing and have this conversation, this tough conversation, and I respect your passion and the sensitivity that you have to it, Michelle. But we are here to do the hard thing in that regards, and go on a route that is much more expensive, that is causing much more delay in the project, and to try and, again, do the right thing to not impact the aquifer.
So
that is what we are here to do. Now, to your question, what would
we have a geotech report.
We have a
I'm
geotech
sure there was
report
an
that told us
environmental
to
report.
not do an HDD.
I assume there's an environmental report,
Environmental,
like a whatever phase 1 or any of that has to look at impacts to. I don't know if that was required on this or not, or if that's part of the
just to
geotech
review
report. Right, TCQ, yeah, okay. So that's another study, let's say, or paperwork, permit applications is what that would actually be, I assume. So we have a couple of different things. I don't know what else due diligence-wise you would have done. I guess that's what I'm looking at. What due diligence
What you're
work
looking
did
at
you do?
is surveyed plat data. We have surveyors that have gone on the ground and identified all the utilities within the corridor so that we can plan the construction. And again, that would eliminate the surprises that we have discussed. There are no more surprises that would come of this because it is excavating to 5 feet deep. And,
plus 20 inches.
Plus the 20 inches to the bottom of pipe, if we want to reference it that way. 5 feet to top of pipe, plus 20 to bottom. So those surprises are no longer something that would come into play here in this construction method. But we do have the survey data to show that the route is clear and that the pipeline can be installed. And that has been verified on our alignment sheets and our construction drawings.
Okay. Ms. Chichi.
So the very first time you put gas through there, will there be kids on campus?
I guess that depends on the time frame. We've shifted. It looks like potential for, we're still going to try to maintain the end of the year. So it could be a time frame on when the campus would be in winter break potentially, if we're able to achieve that. So, or the start of the year. I don't have it in my head the full winter break. But.
And then this may be moot. We may not get to this place, but if we end up with this time frame, I would prefer they start the week early over Thanksgiving break.
We're asking them to start during Thanksgiving break. Start on the 23rd, which
and that's
was
the beginning of Thanksgiving break?
Beginning of Thanksgiving break.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Is what it was discussed. That's a can do that too.
They should start on the 23rd.
Yeah.
We can absolutely do that, by the way, the 21st. I mean, we work on Saturday, mobilize our equipment in, if that was allowed, if you were comfortable with that.
Ms. Shelton, you have a comment?
I was wondering if we had a motion on the table for them to hire an independent person to review is that where we are?
We have not no one has made a motion to that effect yet.
Okay, help me out. It's 9:10 and I can't think. So can you help me?
You'll have to ask one of your colleagues who is asking for the independent review.
So I would, and I don't know if it's a motion or not, but I like Superintendent Jarrett's suggestion. I would like for you guys to have an independent party review, the environmental, the geo study, whatever you've got, and give that back to us so that we can then feel comfortable. We can earn some trust back for us to feel comfortable about what happens next. I think you seem to be moving us to November start, but I don't think there's quite the, well, at least for me, there's no sense of, there's no comfort in knowing that we know everything we need to know and we're good to go.
And so just so I fully understand, you're saying you're not comfortable with this route as presented?
I'm saying I'm not comfortable with understanding that your information gives me what I need to make the final decision, and that this is the only thing to do, right? You just presented this to me, and my guess is You're trying to now avoid the aquifer. And I love, positioning it as doing the right thing. And it is the right thing, because if you use the existing route, which you could, because that's what we approved, right? We could say, this is what we approved. We can tie this up in court, which is a waste of money for everyone. And we could say, no, he has to go against the initial route, which we approved and you told us was the right route to go to. But what I think would happen is that then something would happen to the aquifer, and something would happen to our water supply. And then that would be an issue for you guys, right? Because now you're impacting the entire city. So it is in everyone's best interest, is my guess, without seeing your studies or having an independent person walk me through those studies. My guess is those studies will say that if they do it this way, the 20 or 30 feet deep that they originally told us, there is a risk of them disrupting or infecting the San Antonio water supply. Now your problem is bigger than Northeast ISD. Now your problem is the city of San Antonio and parts of Bexar County, right? So it's in your best interest to go the longer route, and in our best interest too, because we drink this water. I just want an independent, right? I just need an independent person to review your data and tell me that that's what it is.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking for.
If I could be perfectly clear, transparent, and honest, regardless of what any independent person would say, if that route was doable and they came back with the conclusion that there would not be an impact to the aquifer, we would still not go down this route. We are not willing to put even the slightest risk of the potential of impacting the aquifer or the subsurface formation. So regardless of what the independent review says, I hear what you're saying, that route is off the table 100%, because we, as a prudent operator, will not proceed down that direction. This is the route and the final route that we are submitting for approval.
Understood. And I think where the trust comes in is that's not how you present it when you started in here, right?
I'm sorry about that.
You did not, you weren't, we talk about, our parents come to us all the time and talk about us being transparent. You weren't transparent in the way you positioned it, which is why I want a third party to look at your data.
I'm sorry
and that's really
that
the
way.
And that, because I think you and I are on the same page, right?
Everything
You
that
probably
said
have to
was
go
like
all the way around
100%.
because you got to avoid the aquifer.
Yeah, everything
And you
said
probably
was
knew
like-
that
Ms.
when you
Shelton.
came in April.
Ms. Shelton, I
We
will
did not
say
know
that.
that in April,
Mr.
unfortunately.
Wiltingham, one
Yes,
second.
sir.
I will say that he did say that at the beginning of his presentation, that the aquifer was going to be impacted. I'm just, if we go back and look at it, that's what he did say. Now, he didn't say it as emphatically, and I don't know if that's what you were looking for, but it was.
And I'm not going to argue the point because he said.
Can you turn on your microphone, please?
He said a version of that,
Yeah.
but not the,
Okay.
where we just ended, that's not where he was at the beginning of it. And so I have that, so that's and I'm gonna let it go, but you can tell that I'm very upset about this because I feel like.
Do you have a motion you'd like to make on this?
I've already made the motion that I would like him to I would like them to hire an independent person to review their data and give us feedback on whether or not this is the right route to choose.
Okay. Sorry, you didn't. You started sort of as much. I have a motion now. Thank you. The question I have is, who is going to select this individual? And who's, I assume we're asking them to pay for it. So are we going to rely on them to pay for it, the independent study, or do we get to select who it is and then they have to pay for it?
I think we get to select who it is and they get to pay for it, and we table the vote tonight.
Is that, I mean, I guess we can take action on that. I don't know if they will agree to that or not, but I mean.
Will you agree to that?
We are looking to be able to move forward tonight with this project. And so right now, as I was not perfectly, but trying to be very clear that this is the route that the project must proceed forward with. And that is what we are here to seek approval on. So right now, I can't see that moving forward in the direction of what we're trying to accomplish here this evening.
So is that a no? You won't pay for an independent party to review your data?
We're happy to share that data with you, okay? We're happy to review that, as you mentioned, a coffee chat, or go through that to make sure you're comfortable with it, but at this time, I don't see us being able to move forward with that review, that it's going to change the outcome of this route.
So my specific question is it a no that you won't pay for an independent third person to review the data for us?
That's a no.
Okay, thank you.
So
then I'll withdraw the motion because it's a no for them.
So we've withdrawn the motion. Okay. Would anybody else like to?
I'd like make a motion that we table the vote on this until after me and Ms. Sylvia are able to have a coffee chat, or so where we have a coffee and review the data.
All right, I have a motion for tabling this item until further notice. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
I have a motion from Ms. Shelton and a second from Ms. Gigi. All right. Any other questions or comments? All right. Ms. Gigi?
Aye.
Mr. Byer? Nay. Ms. Garcia?
Nay.
Mrs. Cox?
Aye.
And Ms. Shelton?
Aye.
All right. Motion passes 3-2. Mr. Welty, I guess we'll work through Mr. Jarrett and Ms. Caldwell to get whatever that is set up in short order, so that one, we can have the information, because we do have a series of meetings coming up here in the next month, or basically every week for the next 5 weeks. And so if that meeting's able to happen, whatever the review is or the questions, we'll have to determine if that's in a public forum such as this, or if it's one-on-one, to get the members the answers they need. So we'll have to get back to you on that. We don't have that answer right now.
May I ask you a question?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm clear, you said there's upcoming meetings, and so will there be an opportunity to present this as an agenda item for action in the near future?
Correct,
Or is that
yes.
like in the coming, like next week or the week after, if you were potentially?
We wouldn't be able to hit next week, I'll tell you that.
Sure, okay. Yeah, that's all right.
But if these meetings are set up this week, then we have the possibility of the end of August. I think we have the 24th as the next available meeting. After that, it would be kicked to the September regular meeting, which is September. We have a special board meeting on the 24th, yes.
Sure.
So it'll be
problem.
September, whatever it is, 10th, I think. I don't have it off the top of my head. So those would be the next, here, I got it right here. Sorry, 14th. So 24th or the 14th are the next two target dates for this item.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Appreciate your
Ms.
time
Caldwell.
and consideration.
All right. Thank you, trustees, for questions and discussion. All right. With that, we'll move on to item D, consent. 1, instruction and campus administration. A, school health advisory council member appointments. B, consideration and approval of contracts pursuant to HB 3372. 2, business services. A, bid items. B, certified appraisal roll. C, waiver of penalties and interest. D, over 100,000 purchases. 3, operations. Naming of internal road at Johnson High School to Johnson Access. And item 4, minutes from June 1st, June 8th, June 10th, June 15th, June 18th, July 20th, and July 27th, 2026. 5, end of consent. Do I have anybody wishing to pull an item for further discussion? All right, seeing none, do I have a motion to approve consent as presented to us? So moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Chigi. Ms. Chigi?
Aye.
Mr. Byer, aye. Ms. Garcia?
Aye.
Mrs. Cox?
Aye.
Ms. Shelton?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Item 13, reports. A, interim
President
financial
Byer.
and, what?
I'm sorry to interrupt. I just
Oh,
wanted-
yes, I'm
if I
sorry.
could-
Yes.
Oh, Ms. Caldwell's left the room. I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you to Ms. Caldwell and to the county for, because it took a lot of work to get that road. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Conwell. You are welcome. I just wanted to say thanks to everyone in the district that was involved with that. It's really important to that. I was just thanking you, Ms. Caldwell, for your work with the county to get that road named. It'll make it a whole lot easier for visitors to find us. If you don't know Johnson's there, it's kind of hard to see, but also for EMS to see. So thank you very much. I know that took a lot of work, and I really appreciate it.
Jacob Bywaters
Byers.
really
Thank
was
you,
the
thank you.
one who
Thank
did
you,
the
Mr.
legwork.
Bywaters.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, item 13, reports. A, interim financial and management reports. B, awarded bid report. C, fourth quarter investment report. D, closed PO report. E, federal grants report. F, donations report. And G, open records request report. Those are all provided to you. Does anybody have any question about any of those? All right, item 14, discussion and possible action regarding board members' requests for future items to be placed on a future agenda and or requests for reports from the administration. Does anybody want anything on a future board meeting? Ms. Shelton?
I don't necessarily, I just want an update. We can do it via email. I know we approved through SHAC, the juvenile justice program. School is starting in a couple weeks, or in a week. Just, has any schools picked it up? Have we presented it to I think we presented it to the principals.
And
yes, I was going to say, we can send you that information in an email.
that would be great. Any other items? All right, seeing none, item 15, adjournment, and the time is 9:20 p.m.